One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, 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 oh.
Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against, yes, glory is destined. Everyday women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, his spirit is revisiting us. True and living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with our hands up. When it go down, we woman and man up. They say stay down, and we stand up. Shots we on the ground, the camera panned up. King pointed to the mountaintop, and we ran up.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, 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 oh. Now the war is not over, victory isn't won, but we'll fight on to the finish, and then when it's all done, we'll cry glory, oh glory, oh. We'll cry glory, oh glory, oh.
Is now for every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They march with the torch, we gon' run with it now. Never look back, we done gone hundreds of miles from dark roads.
The Black Press of America has prepared a special tribute in memory and salute to the legacy of the Honorable John Lewis.
No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace!
I have the pleasure to present to this great audience young John Lewis, National Chairman, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Brother John Lewis.
We march today for jobs and freedom, but we have nothing to be proud of. But hundreds and thousands of our brothers are not here, for they're receiving starvation wages or no wages at all. While we stand here, there are sharecroppers in the Delta of Mississippi who are out in the fields working for less than $3 a day, 12 hours a day.
We were beaten, we were tear gas. I thought I was going to down this bridge, but somehow, in some way, God Almighty helped me here. We cannot give up now. We cannot give in. We must keep the faith, keep our eyes on the prize. We must go out and vote like we never, ever voted before. Some people gave more than a little blood. Some gave their very lives. So I said to each and every one of you, especially you young people, go out there. Speak up. Speak out. Get in the way. Get in good trouble. Necessary trouble. And help redeem the soul of America. Thank each and every one of you. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give in. We're going to continue to fight. We need your prayers now more than ever before. Let's do it. Selma is a different place. America is a different place. But we can make it much better. We must use the vote as a nonviolent instrument or tool to redeem the soul of America.
Good morning. I'm John Warren, Chairman of the Board, the National Newspaper Publishers Association. I'm here to welcome you to this virtual meeting of NNPA, which we are doing in hopes of sharing with a larger number of you, our public and our members, some of the things that we're working toward during a period of transition. I would like to first start by acknowledging our board and the members of our board, many of whom are present today. Our second vice chair is Jackie Hampton, who is a publisher of the Mississippi Link. Our secretary is Paris Brown. She's publisher of the Baltimore Times and the Annapolis Times. We have as our board members at large first Calvin Anderson, who is a publisher of the new Tri-State Defender in Tennessee. Jamie Kane Casimir, who's publisher of the Times. Rod Doss, who's publisher of the new Pittsburgh Carrier. Dale Edwards, who is publisher of the Call and Post. Sansaria Sonny Messiah Giles, CEO of the Houston Defender Network. Afrika Kilimanjaro, who is publisher of the Carolina Peacemaker. And then we have Larry Lee, who is publisher of the Sacramento Observer. Pluria Marshall, who is an at-large member of our board. David Miller, who is a publisher of Our Weekly. Terry Sanders, publisher of the Omaha Star. And Ashley Smith, co-publisher of the New York Beacon. And last but not least, William Smothers, who is publisher of Speaking Out News. And so these publishers of our board are joined by our president and CEO, Reverend Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis Jr. On behalf of all of them, I welcome you to this very important presentation that we're going to have today. We are lining up a number of things of interest, I think, and importance. One of the most important is going to be a Google initiative, which is going to speak to AI impacting local newsrooms. We know that our newsrooms are going through some change. I'm here to assure you that print is alive and well as we move toward our 200th anniversary, now in the 199th year of the Black press. People are still reading, we are still publishing, we are not on life support. And we believe that print will be with us for a very long time. However, many of us have learned that in this age of technology, there is a need to supplement what we do in print with a digital presence. And so many of our papers are now online as well as in print, remembering that at least 50% of our population nationwide still is not on the internet. And so people are still reading. There is still a legal requirement of publication in terms of notices. And we are going to be giving more time and attention to public notices because of the importance. And not only are there national requirements in terms of publication, but there are also state requirements in terms of public notice. One of the things that will happen today as we talk about our digital network expansion, hearing from Norman Rich and Justin Barton, we will be graced with a presentation from Congressman Jim Clyburn, who will speak to the Black press and the Congressional Black Caucus. And as you know, Congressman Clyburn just came off of a phenomenal election bid. They tried very hard in South Carolina to stop him. He ended up with 91% of the vote. The number might have gone higher. He is the man that's responsible for former President Biden coming out of nowhere and becoming president. He is one of the key voices on Capitol Hill, and we are graced to have his support. He's a former publisher, and so he will be speaking to us later. And then we will hear from Senator Angela also Brooks on issues for Black America, and she is the lone female Black senator from the state of Maryland, doing a phenomenal job. So this is going to be a time of helpful presentations. There will also be a time during this period where there will be an effort to have some interaction, and Dr. Chavis will speak to how that will shape up as we go forward. So again, I want to welcome you to this session. We hope that you will be able to stay with us and that you will give us your feedback in terms of it. We will be meeting in person in September when we not only meet in conjunction with the Congressional Black Caucus, but we will also have our board meeting in person at that time. So I welcome you and urge you to stay with us through this presentation. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Karen Carter Richards, Chairman of the National Newspaper Publishers Association Fund. To our distinguished publishers, partners, sponsors, and friends of the Black Press of America, welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association 2026 National Conference. As we gather today, we stand at the threshold of history. In less than a year, on March 16th, 2027, we will celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Black Press of America, a remarkable milestone that traces its roots to the publication of Freedom's Journal in 1827, the nation's first Black-owned newspaper. For 2 centuries, the Black press has served as the trusted voice of Black America. When others ignored our stories, we told them. When others distorted the truth, we defended it. When our communities needed information, advocacy, hope, and accountability, the Black press answered the call. Our newspapers have documented the struggles and triumphs of our people, chronicled the fight for civil rights and social justice, supported Black businesses, informed voters, and empowered generations of leaders. We have been more than journalists. We have been guardians of our history and champions of progress. Today, as we prepare for a national mobilization and innovation campaign leading to our bicentennial celebration, we must honor our legacy while embracing the future. The media landscape is evolving rapidly, but our mission remains unchanged: to inform, educate, advocate, and uplift our communities. The 200th anniversary of the Black press is not simply a celebration of the past. It is a declaration of our future. It is an opportunity to elevate our collective voice, strengthen our institutions, engage new audiences, and ensure that the next generation inherits a Black press that is vibrant, innovative, sustainable, and impactful. Let this conference serve as a catalyst for collaboration, creativity, and commitment. Together, we will build a national movement worthy of this historic moment and ensure that the legacy of the Black press continues for the next 200 years. Thank you for your dedication, your leadership, and your unwavering belief in the power of Black-owned media. Welcome to the NNPA 2026 National Conference, and let us begin with this important work together. Thank you.
On behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, the NNPA, we're very pleased to welcome you to our virtual 2026 Annual National Convention. This year marks the 199th year of the Black Press of America. Next year, on March 16th, 2027, will mark the 200th anniversary of the Black Press. We intend to celebrate the Black Press throughout next year. Today's convention theme is appropriately preparing to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Black Press of America, national mobilization, and innovation. We cannot wait until next year to plan. Over the next 6 months, the NNPA, with our key corporate partners, sponsors, committed philanthropists at the local, statewide, national, regional, and global levels, will be detailing and establishing the following fundraising and working committees. The Black Press 200 National Corporate Support Committee. The NNPA Membership Black Press 200 Anniversary Planning Committee. The NNPA Digital and Social Media Press 200 Activation Committee. And the NNPA Cultural Arts Black Press 200 Committee. We invite every NNPA member publisher, every corporate partner, and every voice in our community to join us in this historic recognition and consequential journey. We will elevate the Black press, preserve its legacy, and innovate for the next 200 years. We encourage all of our attendees today at the convention to stay tuned for more details on how you can get involved. Let us all be committed to shaping a bold future for the Black press. Thank you, and let's begin this exciting year ahead. We welcome you. Yes. Part of our welcome, I wanted to also recognize our distinguished NNPA Treasurer, Cheryl Smith, owns a number of newspapers in Dallas, Texas, including the Metro News. Cheryl has been our treasurer for a while, and we also want to just thank her for her leadership. All our officers, these are volunteer positions, and they take time and effort to ensure that the NNPA is sustainable. So a shout out to Cheryl, our treasurer, Cheryl Smith. Thank you. Now, I just want to briefly thank all of our sponsors that makes today's virtual convention possible. We thank the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Ask for Me. We thank the Google News Initiative. We thank Target. We thank AARP. We thank the Alternative News Weekly. We thank Comcast. And last but not least, we thank Reynolds who's been a long-term supporter and partner of the NNPA. Thank all of our sponsors and partners to make today's broadcast, to make today's virtual convention possible. We're very grateful and appreciative. And we hope all of you, sponsors, will join us as we prepare now for the 200th anniversary of the NNPA next year. I think it's time we will move now, ready for ourselves for our special presentation by the Google News Initiative. A number of our publications, a number of our publishers have been involved in the digital transformation. That means that we continue to print, but we also continue to be in the digital space to make sure that the revenue streams in print continue, but the revenue streams in digital expand and help to sustain the Black press today and in the future. The Google News Initiative has been one of our long-term partners. In fact, almost 50 of our publishers have gone through various workshops, various groups in terms of learning specific skills, helping staff to innovate, to elevate, and to appreciate the opportunities out there, the tools, the digital tools that we need to make our newsrooms viable and sustainable. Today, we're going to focus on how AI is impacting local newsrooms, artificial intelligence. And we're so pleased to have a specialist from Google, Lane Christie, who will be making a presentation over the next 90 minutes. After the first hour, there will be a time for some questions and answers, but we want to hear his presentation. And I encourage all of you to prepare now to receive and to listen to Lane. Lane, thank you. There you are, Christy. We appreciate you being with us. And please let all of your colleagues know at Google and the Google News Network our deep appreciation for your work and for your taking the time now to help move the NNPA forward in the digital space with respect to AI. Thank you. We now present Lane Christie.
Thank you very much, Dr. Travis, for those kind words, for the introduction, and also for the opportunity to speak to you today. It's much appreciated. So folks, what we are going to talk about today, to Dr. Travis's point, I believe I have 90 minutes till about 12:50 Eastern to give you what we call our journalism taster. That is going to really primarily cover AI tools for journalists and how journalists can use AI tools to augment their work, to support their work, to make their work better, to make their work easier, but not crucially to replace what you guys do, because nobody can do what you guys do better than you do it yourself. So I want you to take that kind of opening theme, if you like, that opening idea kind of through the deck. How can you use AI to support you, to augment you, to make your lives easier so you can do what you do best, which is produce incredible journalism and continue to tell the stories that matter and the stories that we need to hear. So that's kind of where we're going to talk to today. Kind of moving on, just some very, very brief introductions. Thank you, Dr. Travis, again for the introduction. My name is Ian Christie. I'm a business analyst for the Google News Initiative. Now, I want you to do two things, if I may. I want you to concentrate on my photograph there. That's my official Google photograph. One of the reasons why I think it's a good photograph and I'm pleased with the way I look. The second reason is I'm actually going to come back to that photograph later on in this deck, and I'm going to use it as an example of how you can use AI to sense check sources, and I'm going to come back to that later on. So we'll come back to that picture shortly. In terms of, and I use this term very, very loosely, folks, in terms of house rules, there's very few, to be honest. First of all, we're very grateful to be here, to have the opportunity to work with you guys, to be in the room virtually to present to you where Google is going with AI, where we started with AI, and kind of our overall kind of scope of it. In terms of as I say, very loose house rules. I will do my best to stop for questions. I've got an eye on the StreamYard chat. My colleague Colleen, my fellow Googler, is also, I believe, in the YouTube channel and answering some questions in the YouTube chat. So yeah, I'll do my very best to get to the questions. But hopefully this deck is comprehensive enough that it might answer every question that you have. So we're going to kind of rock and roll with that. What I do want to say is that last one there, bring an open mind. AI is a huge deal. I don't need to tell you that. We're going to speak to that today. But do bring an open mind. I do believe that AI can be used intelligently, sensitively, efficiently to support you, to make your lives easier, to make you be able to continue to tell the stories, to do the great job, the great work that you have such a proud heritage to do. So please bring an open mind. Google AI is there to help you, and Google is there to help you use the tools that we have. And I'm going to speak to that on the deck today. So to give you like an idea of the content, what we're going to talk today, we have various training courses with the Google News Initiative. We have one of our kind of streams, if you like, is all about journalism. That journalism lab is broken into 3 modules. You can see the 3 modules on the screen. There's module 1, which is tools for content creation. There's module 2, which is tools for research and verification. And there's module 3 for safe and resilient journalism. Now, each of those sessions takes 90 minutes. So what we do in this like teaser session is we take top line of all 3 modules and we present it in 90 minutes. So to manage expectations, folks, I will do my best to take you to the tools I'm going to talk to. Show, not tell is always the better way. I won't be able to do a deep dive on the functionality of every single tool purely because there isn't the time. But I'll do my best to show you the big hitters, the main stuff, the key takeaways I want you to take from the call today. So here is how the deck or their session this morning will rock and roll. There's 5 sessions in total. So we're going to start at the start. We're going to start with the basics. We're going to build our way up. So we're going to talk to generative AI and Gemini basics. Then we're going to speak to content discovery and workflow. We'll move on to content creation. I'd argue that's the fun part. Then we're going to talk about some serious stuff, verification and information integrity. And lastly, end on a hugely, hugely important note, how to keep your journalism safe and keep your journalism resilient, and how we here at Google are here to help you support that. So that's the way the deck is going to roll today. So let's kick off with generative AI and Gemini basics. Let's talk to AI. Let's talk to the macro situation before we kind of dive in and get kind of tool specific. Now, AI is evolving rapidly and continues to change at pace. This evolution is reshaping how information is created, how it is shared, and how it is consumed. Now, for journalists, I would argue that the focus remains on keeping that trust, that accuracy, and the impact of your work at the center of what you do. That means knowing how to use, how to understand, how to work with AI responsibly and effectively. Now, the session today, this teaser session, taster session, if you like, that's here. It's designed to kind of help you do exactly that. It's going to ideally give you like practical tools you can use, hands-on skills, and crucially, the confidence you need to apply them in your newsroom. We will always try and give you specific examples of how a newsroom can use these AI tools. Let's keep it basic. What is generative AI? So generative AI takes a prompt, for example, like a question or an instruction, and produces new content based from that. Now, in the newsroom, that could mean summarizing long reports. It could be suggesting alternative headlines. It could be helping to draft interview questions from maybe an angle you hadn't thought about. Those are all examples of how you can use generative AI. So how might you use generative AI specifically in Gemini, which is Google's tool, what we talk about today? So for example, you could ask Gemini to give you 10 news story ideas or angles about story X or story Y or story Z. You could use Pinpoint, which we'll talk to today, to transcribe your interview notes, to find key quotes, to like really pull out the angle of a story. And then lastly, you could use Synth ID to check and see if content was AI generated, to go back to that trust piece. So why does that matter? Generative AI can boost productivity. It can spark new ideas. It can fuel curiosity. Those things can all be done while giving you more time to focus on the reporting, the editorial judgment, the building human connections, the nurturing relationships that only you can provide. I can't stress that enough. So this is key to how I want you to approach the session that we're running this morning. Use AI, the tools that I'm going to speak to today, use them to do the repetitive work, the setup work, the tedious stuff, the research, the organizing, the color coding, the filing, the kind of getting it all straight in your head. That will free up your time to be journalists. AI cannot go to a county courthouse and speak to people. It can't go to a bar or a coffee shop or whatever and speak to people. It can't make those human connections. It can't work a street. It can't work a neighborhood. It can't build human connections, but you can. And if you use AI products to free your time to do the research, the setup work, etc., that frees up your time to go out and be a journalist and to find stories and to tell stories. So I really want to stress that as we go through this session this morning. So let's speak to large language models. There is a lot of acronyms out there in the tech space, especially around AI. So large language models, LLMs, basically they're computer systems trained on huge amounts of text so they can understand language and generate new text in response. Now, in the past, computers needed step-by-step instructions. Every detail of the process had to be programmed in advance. It was a bit like a train on a railway track, right? Kind of only go that way. Now, with LLMs, you don't need to write code. What you do is you give it a question, you give it a prompt, and the model predicts the most likely and most useful response. So again, applying it to the newsroom, again, applying it to journalism. This makes it possible to quickly summarize documents, compare perspectives, or test different headlines. There's some ideas. Now, we want to talk to our approach, Google's philosophy, if you like, regarding AI. Now, Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Now, with generative AI, we can do that in ways that we never thought possible. This technology is obviously hugely exciting, but at the same time, we recognize that these changes are very quickly moving and they're also complex. Now, we want you guys to understand where we as a company are coming from and also where we're going to, so we can move forward together. As we experiment, as we innovate, our guiding principle with AI is to be bold and to be responsible. That means maximizing the positive benefits to society while also addressing the challenges that AI presents. Now, part of that, in all honesty, is being in the room virtually with guys like yourself, with the press organizations with yourself, partnering with organizations like yourself, so we can understand your perspective in the current moment, your concerns, your wins, your challenges, etc., all of that, so we can move forward together. So I want to stress that. Now, Google's mission for AI is to make AI helpful for everyone. It's one of the most profound technologies humanity is working on. Now, that's helping doctors analyze enormous data sets in terms of disease prevention. It could be enabling people to access information in their own language in ways that were never deemed possible before. Now, AI opens up responsibility, or opens up new opportunities that could significantly improve billions of lives. So that's really why we kind of reorientated Google, the company, around AI 8 years ago. And it's why we're committed to making AI even more helpful for people, for businesses, for communities, for everyone, for journalists, for newsrooms. It's why we're here today. Some people, I think maybe there's been some comments that kind of shift to AI may feel kind of sudden to some, but to be honest, we've been working on this for almost a decade and we've been applying it to our products for quite some time. So this is not new. Trust me, we've been working on this for a while. Now, for journalists, what does that mean? I would argue that takes on a very specific meaning. It means having the tools to help you access vast amounts of information quickly, whether that's documents, data, or multimedia. It means being able to organize complex material into something manageable and clear for your newsroom. And crucially, it means being able to verify information at scale so you can uncover stories, add context, and deliver trusted reporting to your audience. So in short, the mission aligns closely with what journalism is all about, and that's turning information into knowledge that people can rely upon. let's move on here. So let's look at Gemini specifically. Let's get to the tools. Let's get to the products. Gemini is evolving to be more than just the models. It basically supports an entire ecosystem of Google tools, and these are products that people use, billions of people use multiple times a day. That could be like to the APIs, like the platforms for helping developers and businesses innovate. Gemini is everywhere. Now, Gemini represented the next phase in Google's journey to make AI more helpful and more accessible. We launched it in December of 2023, and it's our most capable and most general model yet. What makes Gemini different is that it was built from the ground up to be multimodal. Multimodal means it can work across different modalities. So I'm talking across text, images, audio, video, code, multimodal. It's also highly efficient at connecting with tools and APIs, which means it can kind of fit into the workflows, the spaces, if you like, that people are already using. It's going to be there. It's your right-hand guy, it's right there. And it's been designed to enable future innovations like memory, like planning, etc., so it can become even more useful over time. Now, for Google, this, I would argue, marks one of the biggest science and engineering efforts we have ever undertaken as a company. For journalists, it means access to a new set of tools that can support reporting, analysis, storytelling in ways that were just not possible before. So in terms of Gemini, let's kind of like introduce you to Gemini properly. The way we'd like you to think of Gemini is think about it like this. Think about it as your personal AI assistant. It's there to help you create, help you learn, help you code, help you draft, help you refine, help you perfect, whatever. All of these different things it can do. At its core, Gemini is designed to understand and generate human-like responses in order to assist you in a very wide range of tasks. Now, you can access Gemini in 40 languages across more than 230 countries and territories for free. You can interact with Gemini through text, you can do it through voice, you can do it through images. Again, that idea of multimodality, it's kind of the ultimate multimodal chatbot. It's available on the web, it's available on mobile, it's available in the Gemini app. You can have it you can use it wherever you are, etc. Now, I always like to speak upfront about privacy. I always feel it's important to address privacy. I am going to put a link in the chat, which I believe Norman is then going to share kind of out to the group as a whole. What I've just shared in the chat there, folks, is the link to Google's privacy policy. We could do a whole hour on Google's privacy policy. Unfortunately, we don't have that. The way we take privacy incredibly seriously here at Google. Everything you want to know, everything you want to understand is public facing. It's on the link I've shared there, and it's on a link I'm just about to give you. If you have any questions, any queries on what data is used, how it's used, how long it's used for, folks, it's online. It's right out there on the open web. Please do take the time, if you have any concerns or any questions, to access that link and to skill up on that. There's also another specific Gemini app's privacy notice that explains how Google processes your data when you interact with Gemini. And again, I'm going to copy this, put it in my chat, and I believe Norman will kind of promulgate that out to the larger group. These links will tell you what data is collected and how that data is used. What I will tell you this, kind of top line, so human reviewers, including trained reviewers from our service providers, review some of the data we collect for purposes of making sure the product is improved, it's built into our product roadmap to make sure we're giving you guys what you need. All I would say is like this: how you approach risk is entirely up to you. Please don't enter confidential information that you wouldn't want a reviewer to see or Google to use to improve our services, including machine learning technologies. Folks, you always have control. If you don't want to put it into Gemini, you don't need to put it into Gemini. But the advice is don't enter confidential information into Gemini that you wouldn't want other folk to see. That's kind of where we're going to leave it there. So again, taking that away, let's look at Gemini as like a companion for every stage of your newsroom workflow. Excuse me. So let's break it down. Research and discovery. It can help surface context, scan large volumes of sources. It can trace provenance, so it can give you a head start on finding the correct facts. Now, when we talk about provenance in like a digital or an AI context, we mean understanding where information comes from, its source, its history. How has it been changed along the way? How has it been verified along the way? Provenance helps ensure transparency and trust because it lets you trace a piece of content back to its origin to confirm its authenticity. We will come to that kind of later on in this deck this morning. Next, drafting and iteration. It can help you support you with outlines, summaries, headline ideas. So that'll kind of help you work faster without kind of losing your editorial voice. Next, story transformation. Gemini makes it easier to like adapt your reporting into multiple formats. So you could take something and convert it into a newsletter. You could take something and convert it into a social post, for example. Script. Obviously, you communicate differently to different audiences. Gemini can help you do that. In terms of verification, it can help you validate facts, highlight inconsistencies, and point you towards the original sources. And finally, what I love about this is workflow integration. Gemini is already integrated directly into the tools you already use. So for example, if you use Google Workspace and you have access to Docs and to Gmail and to Sheets and to Slides and to Search and to Vids and to Chrome and to Pixel, whatever, all these Google touchpoints, Gemini is integrated into them already. So no matter what platform you're in, Gemini is your right-hand guy. It's right there. You can do all of these: research and discovery, drafting and iteration, story transformation, whatever. In all of these Google platforms, if you're on Google Workspace, because it's integrated into everything. So I think that's a really, really key advantage, that it's always kind of there, your personal research assistant. I am going to just stop very, very briefly for questions, because I think we're making good time. Are there any questions that you can share with me here? Oh, I think I see some comments. Let me go to them. I see some thanks, which is great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, I don't see any questions now. That's fine. That's fine. I'm in the comments tab of my stream. And again, folks, hopefully my colleague, my fellow Googler, Colleen, should be in the YouTube channel working hard to answer any questions you have. So if that's the case, what I'll do, if I may, is I'll start with prompting. Prompting is foundational. So let's talk to prompting and how you can improve that. So prompting is just an instruction to a chatbot. It's the way you ask it for something, like to do something for you, effectively. Now, what I would argue is try prompting in your personal life before you take it into your professional life. You can play around with how it works in like a safer environment away from work. Prompting is like anything. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. You will find your mojo, you will find your rhythm, you will find your voice in terms of prompting. So just chip away at it and you'll get there. There are some principles, however, that apply to prompting, and we're going to talk to them in the next slide. So there are ingredients, if you like, of a high quality prompt. Creating a high quality prompt is like giving a skilled chef like a detailed recipe. So there are key ingredients, right? First of all, very important, start with a persona, start with a role. This helps Gemini adopt a specific voice, a specific style, like a knowledge base. That can be anybody. It can be a journalist. It can be an elementary student. It could be an award-winning actress. It could be a PhD student. Give it a persona, give it a role. Essential, folks, essential. Set up the task. This is you giving it something to do. That means clearly stating what you need. You need a verb, you need a command. Be clear, be concise, essential in the task. Next, specify your audience. This helps Gemini like tailor the responses to who it's intended for. So for example, a response aimed at an elementary student is going to be very, very different from a response aimed at a PhD student. So specify the audience in the prompt. Next, set context, set restraints. Gemini needs context, right? It needs context to help give you what you need. So provide as many instructions and like detail that you can to kind of help it focus its response. Include X, but exclude Y. Don't refer to 1990 to 2000, concentrate on 2000 to 2026. You get the idea. Constraints, context. And then essentially pick your format. If you want it in a certain way, ask for it in a certain way. So to make the best of the response, I need to be very clear what you want it to look like. For example, if you want it in a table, organized alphabetically, Z to A to Z. if you want it in bullet points, if you want it in a haiku, if you want it in rhyming couplets, whatever, specify the format, because that means you're going to get what you want and it's going to be more useful first time. What I would say is you don't always need to use each and every kind of like ingredient there, apart from the task. Always use the task, and the format, always use the format. But again, folks, play around with it, right? The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. Some helpful phrases to add to prompts. I'm not going to read these all out, folks, because there's too many, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Explain X topic to me like I'm 5. You know, highlight potential biases in topic A, topic B, etc. You know what a great one is to start with? What information do I need to know about a topic? So that's kind of like prompting. That's kind of like foundational on how we work with Gemini. Again, folks, try it out, test it, and you'll improve as you go there. So I'm going to now move to the first tool that I want to speak to you about, tools for journalists. And we're going to speak to a really fun one. It's a tool that sits within our Gemini products, and it's called GEMS. Now, GEMS act as like a specialized AI assistant. You build them, you create them, you give them a specific role, a specific task. So they become your experts at that one thing. So for example, if you find yourself asking AI, prompting AI over and over again to do like the same thing, build a gem, because that gem will then adopt that persona, that role, and will just become your expert on something like fast math, on something like data analytics, on something like, Democrat versus Republican foreign policy. I mean, knock yourself out. It's really good at one thing. So for example, a newsroom specific scenario, you could build a gem using your newsroom specific style and sourcing guidelines. And that means you could run text through that Gemini, and it would check it against your style guide, against your point of truth for your tone of voice. You can build a gem for specifically drafting social media posts. It's your guy that does that one thing really well. I'm going to show you some examples of gems. I find them very useful professionally as well as personally. The way you access gems is you go to the left-hand panel, which I'll show you shortly, of Gemini, and you just click on a little button that says Gem Manager. Once you see this, you can see pre-made gems are already in Gemini. Gemini comes with a fairly extensive set of pre-made gems. You can't edit them, unfortunately. You can by all means use them. You can also build your own. We'll show them shortly. Again, I'm going to put a link in the chat, folks, a little bit more information about gems. I'll send that to Norman. That's just a little link, folks. That's kind of like an introduction to gems. How can you apply gems to journalism? We kind of talked about it before. Repetitive tasks like summaries, style checks, headline drafts. They can be customized to your newsroom's tone and editorial standards. So again, you can, if you have a source, if you have your own point of truth, you can build a gem, you can upload that point of truth to that gem. It's called source grounding, which means when you the source ground every comment from every response from the gem in that document. So only look at that document. Only look at this. It's your one point of truth. There's an example of that coming up. Free up your time. You know, that admin work that you find yourself doing time after time after time, get a gem to do it. Have it there, fire information in it, and it'll do that thing time after time over and over. What is a great thing about gem is once you build a gem, you can share it with your newsroom. So if you come up with a great gem about data analysis, you can share it with your colleagues. So you all have this shared resource. You can just jump in and use it. Newsroom specific example is I did some work earlier with a newsroom up in Canada who have created a style guide, their own style guide. They have a very detailed style guide in a PDF. They created a gem. They uploaded the style guide. They said only reference this style guide for all the text. And then they have a gem that's completely built around their style guide, their tone of voice, how they write, how they tell stories, and they just run all their copy through it to perfect it, to improve it. Saved so much time. I'm going to demo this, folks. Again, show not tell. I'm going to just change my screen here. So this is Gemini. So this is Gemini overall. This is what it looks like. The side panel here has lots of fun stuff. I'm going to open gems. I'm going to wait till that loads. So you have your gem manager. So these are pre-made gems. Writing editor. Storybook, Brainstormer, Career Guide, Coding Partner, Copy Creator, Learning Coach. Again, you could find examples of how you could use it in your personal life. For example, I use a gem to improve my languages, to improve my French. I've trained it on a specific role, on a specific level of French to improve me. And that's a personal way I use gems. But here you can see some of my professional gems. We work for the Google News Initiative. We get asked lots of questions about Substack, for example. I have a Substack gem. Like any questions I have about Substack, I run through that. It's my Substack expert. Google Analytics 4. As you can imagine, I get asked a huge amount of questions about Google Analytics, about web analytics. I have created a Google Analytics gem specifically for that role. Ditto for another Google product we have called Reader Revenue Manager. Ditto for our Create with AI tools, which I'm going to cover on this deck. GAM, Google Ad Manager, that's another very complicated product about serving ads, managing advertising, third-party advertising on your site. And there's my little French tutor gem. Very quickly, GA4 Gem Assistant, I can crack that open and I can just ask it some questions. Here are some previous questions I have asked it. So for example, deploying GA tags with GTM. That means deploying Google Analytic tags with Google Tag Manager. I needed a top line, just some information, and this is the information it gave me. That building a gem to do that one thing means I don't have to go into Gemini and go act as an expert on Google Analytics for the news publishing industry in North America over and over and over again. I've done that. I've just done it once and I've set it up for that specific role. This has saved me so much time, folks, because otherwise I would have to use my own knowledge, which is pretty good, Google Analytics, or the Google Analytics help. You know, I'd have to scroll through things to find things and get points of truth, whatever. Don't need to do that. It's all here. And what is nice is you've always got a point of truth you can click through on the gem to kind of have that source where you can check the results. And we always, as with any of the tools, it's a tool like anything else, folks. It can make mistakes, but you always have that ability to click through to like a verified source so you can check it. So much information it gave me. This was for a specific publisher. This would probably have taken weeks to sort out. We got it sorted in a morning. So that's gems. Really, really useful. Can't recommend gems enough. Try them out and see how you go on. Moving back to the deck. In fact, you know what I'll do before we move on to the next section? I'll just take a few quick questions. Thank you for the nice comments. I appreciate that too. Thank you, Squirrel. That's my colleague. Thank you, Colleen, for jumping in there. Yeah, gems, folks. Honestly, I would argue if you start with anything with Gemini, start with gems. I think they're a really good, useful. And once you have one, you can have multiple, right? There's no limit on them. Knock yourself out. You can have experts you can constantly refer to. Again, this idea to make your lives easier. So you can go out, meet people, build relationships, tell stories. That's what's the important part. That's what we want to help you guys do. So let's look to content discovery and workflow. So when we talk about AI in journalism, there's kind of like two areas where it's really making like a critical impact, like a very real impact. Content discovery. So you can use AI to supercharge background research, analyze data, surface insights faster. So for example, that can be analyzing patterns in large data sets. It could be tracking audience behavior. It could even help you with like revenue insights, like ad performance, reader trends, etc. It can help you with all of that. Next is workflow improvements. You can use AI to kind of like facilitate collaboration within the newsroom, improve productivity, improve optimization, etc. So summarize meeting notes, automate transcriptions, drafting briefs, etc. So teams can focus on that higher value editorial work. Again, use AI, use the tools to do the background, the setup, the admin, whatever. That means you can go and tell stories. Now, these areas together show how AI can support both the editorial and operational sides of journalism. So that frees up your time to be creative, to think critically, that only humans can do. That's kind of the approach we want you guys to take with this. So a nice example I'm going to give you here, and I'm going to start with an example. So One Cricket are a sports site from India. And if anybody knows India, cricket is a big deal in India. One Cricket used Gemini to build an algorithm that measures team performance in the Indian Premier League. So it analyzed like player stats, outcomes, patterns across matches. This is a great example of how AI can be used to turn raw data, complicated data, varied data sets into insights that deepen storytelling and give audiences a richer understanding of the topic of the game of cricket. So for example, each ball bowled, and that's what we call about bowling in cricket, and the Indian Premier League, that generates up to 24 different metrics, up to 24 different data points. What the reporter did was they used Gemini to build an algorithm to quantify the performance of individual teams and individual players. Gemini then helped that journalist take it that one step further. It helped him create the Python code to analyze that data. There is a nice little example of that here, and I'll drop that into the chat so you guys can see it. That's just one example there. Another example, excuse me, this is a US example. This is a site I'm very familiar with. They're called India Currents. They're based in the Bay Area. They speak primarily to the kind of South Asian diaspora, specifically Indian diaspora in California. What they did was they had a huge amount of internal research on their audience. They uploaded this research about their audience into Notebook LM, and we'll talk to Notebook LM later. Notebook LM is really smart. It's a virtual research assistant. Kind of think about it that way, and I'll show you that momentarily. We've got some slides on that. What they then did was they asked Notebook LM to make sense of that data. They asked it to create audience personas, identify who their readers are, what they care about the most, effectively segment them so they can develop different strategies to speak to those different audiences. Now, I'm from a marketing background, and I know for a fact, you fundamentally have to understand your audience. That's not easy when your data set is varied, etc. Making sense of that data set, humanizing that data set is a huge advantage. I have commissioned pieces of work like this in previous jobs, and it's taken months for a marketing agency to pull all that together because it's hard, because it's complicated. India Currents uploaded the data they had into Notebook LM and asked them to generate audience personas. I'll read a few of them out. So you have the respectful skeptic, the cultural connector, the informed explorer. It highlights their age range, their stage of life, their personality, their key needs, their pain points, their location, their social media behavior, their preferred format. So you have an idea of these individual audience personas that India Currents could then write copy towards to satisfy their need states. That's kind of crucial. That is a great example of how a publisher used AI to better engage with their community, to tell better stories that will resonate with their community. It didn't replace the research, it deepened the understanding, and it facilitated a strategy of storytelling, of connection. So that's a nice example I want to give you. Here's some more kind of examples of content discovery in the newsroom. You can use it for story brainstorming, upload notes, upload research to kind of spark new angles and ideas, just that guy that you bounce stuff off. You can use it for document and data understanding. So AI helps you quickly analyze large sets of information to surface insights. A large complicated data set, AI can be applied on that to make sense of it, organize that chaos, like India Currents did. Content analysis. You can reveal patterns in your own coverage. You can spot trends. And if you spot trends, you can spot gaps. And if you spot gaps, you can spot opportunities to tell stories that perhaps have not been told before. You can also do it for audience and user analysis, like India Currents, upload surveys, upload research to better understand your readers, your users, etc. You can use it for competitive analysis. AI can give you a snapshot of the market, what other outlets are doing, perhaps not doing, identify areas that you could move into, you could optimize, you could capitalize upon. And also you can use it internally. It's a great resource internally. You can use it as an internal knowledge hub. You can centralize that coverage. You could have it, say, for example, you have a new starter starting in the team. You could use AI to have a central knowledge hub. So instead of them coming to you and asking you questions like, do I get the 4th of July off? You could have all that information just in there in a notebook, for example, in a Notebook LM, internal documents, human resources, processes, whatever, just throw it all into Notebook LM, and a new user, a new starter can interrogate those sources as a point of truth, get the answer they need. So they can skill up themselves effectively without you having to provide complicated documents or take them through it. That's another example. So some useful tools in terms of content discovery, and we'll do our best to speak to these today. All of these tools can be used as a force multiplier for newsrooms of any size. There is deep research. Deep research, I will show you, it sits within our Gemini product. So like Gemini Gems, deep research sits within Gemini. That's kind of like an automated research assistant, explores the web to synthesize really complex findings into very comprehensive reports. If you need to go deep, broad and deep on something, if you know nothing about it, but my goodness, you need to skill up, deep research is an amazing opportunity to really get that breadth of knowledge, that depth of knowledge. I would argue deep research, probably, you're not going to be looking at deep research 10 minutes before a deadline. You're going to be using it very much upstream, you know, in that kind of initial story research phase, but it's there to help you. Some examples to come. We have Pinpoint. Now, Pinpoint is a very, very smart tool. It's made by journalists, for journalists. It does so many things well. It kind of identifies key people, key places, key themes, etc., within massive data sets, massive collections of documents, archives. It helps you find what you need from chaos, and it helps you organize chaos, which if you're working on a huge piece of investigative reporting, a huge data set, etc., is really good. And then Notebook LM. Notebook LM, think about it as your like writing partner. It's like a collaboration piece that turns your research into notes, into outlines, multimedia summaries, polished drafts, etc. The great thing about Notebook LM, it kind of helps with the discovery piece and also the content creation piece. And we have some slides on that in the deck that I will talk to shortly. Another tool, how can you find story angles with AI? Well, you can use Google Trends. I don't know how many of you have used Google Trends. Google Trends is really really smart. It's also really fun. The Google Trends is kind of cool. Google Trends helps spark new story ideas, like by showing, it just shows you what people are searching for. It shows you where the curiosity is. It shows you where the hunger is. It shows you where the herd is kind of moving towards. It's a great tool. So when you open Trends, what you're effectively looking into is you're tapping into the collective curiosity of the public. And that can point you towards like fresh angles, points you might not have thought of. It helps you identify, okay, there could be a story there. Something is happening. There could be a story there. Google Trends helps you identify that. It helps you analyze large volumes of search data to reveal patterns, to reveal shifts, etc. This isn't just about like one-off spikes. You can see how interest on a topic or a subject or whatever, like builds, drops over time. That kind of might help you see trends or like spot meaningful changes or even anticipate where the herd might move next. That's something it does. You can compare terms over time to like validate timelines, validate context, etc. For example, you could compare how interest in climate protest aligns with climate policy over the past year or 5 years or whatever. And you can give you evidence to like frame your reporting. Spot emerging angles. You can track rising queries, related topics, etc. So very often those related searches are often where the story is going to move to next. So they're worth paying close attention to, and Google Trends gives you that information. You can add trends to accelerate discovery, add data-driven insight into your reporting. Basically, it kind of helps you move from a hunch to a story backed up with real audience data. And I'll show you Google Trends in a moment. So let's talk to it. Let's kind of talk a little deeper to Google Trends. The good thing is it's not just about one country or one topic. It shows you what people are searching for all over the world, or just the one country, in our case, the US, and also with some countries, with larger countries, like the US, Canada, some European countries, you can also go down to like a sub-national level. So in the US perspective, you can look at what Florida is looking at, what Massachusetts is looking at, what South Dakota is looking at. You can really drill down to see what's going on. You can also compare lots of different points. Really, that kind of global view is why so many newsrooms globally use Trends every single day. Spark ideas, enrich the reporting, really get a handle on like real audience interest, make that discovery piece faster, make that discovery piece more data-driven. What is fun about Trends is that historically Trends was not an AI tool. It spoke to search data, didn't have an AI piece. However, now Trends has Gemini, and a Gemini kind of like enabled panel on the right-hand side. That kind of helps you kind of simplify data analysis, find inspiration, quickly compare relevant search topics. Again, AI is incorporated in the tool to make your lives easier, to kind of make sense of it all, to be your assistant. It's right there. So instead of hunting about for like queries manually in the trends dashboard, the AI automatically suggests kind of like plots, it contextualizes, etc. Search behavior right on your trends dashboard. I will put a little link into my chat with Norman for Google Trends. And I'll put it in the chat so you guys can see it, or rather navigate to it. So that's Google Trends. And again, I'll show you this in a moment. So specifically, let's see specifically how you can use trends. So you can see how a topic is trending in Google search. You can compare several topics at once. You can compare A with B with C with D. You can track trending queries in real time. You can understand the context on when each trend emerged, how long it stayed popular, when it disappeared. Kind of gives you that kind of idea of like interest, how interest has changed over time. Now, obviously together, these features can kind of help you identify the topics that people care about the most. They care about it, so they're looking for it. So you can spot opportunities that could shape your next story. So specifically, again, kind of building on this idea of how journalists are using Google Trends, find story ideas. See what people are looking for. Sometimes the trend itself is the story. So if you see a sudden spike in searches for like a local issue or a phrase that's come out of nowhere, like labubus, like heated rivalry, like looks maxing, why is everybody talking about this now? There's something there. That's a story. You can also use it to support your story creation. So trends can help strengthen your reporting by showing you how people are searching for like a term over time. Is it a slow build? Is it a dramatic rise, etc.? It's a kind of a way to like corroborate your angle, help you add context, bring color into your story with that real audience data. And it can help you like increase discovery, if you like. Crucially, journalists use trends to optimize how their stories are found. Crucially. So you can align headlines and titles with the terms people are actually searching for. You can boost your visibility in search and make sure your reporting reaches the audience that it needs to reach. So that's crucial, that increased discovery piece. So I've talked to it. Why don't I show you it? So here's trends. I'll just take you to the home page. Hopefully you can see it up the top there. I've got it set to the US just for the purposes of this deck. You could just throw anything you want into that search term. What I would argue here is that trending now is kind of like, this is what's happening right now. This is what people are looking at. So I'm looking for the United States in the past 24 hours. If you want to look at specific categories, you can. So if you're an entertainment journalist, you could just filter down to entertainment. If you're a gaming journalist, you could just filter down to games. I'm looking at everything. We're going broad. All trends by relevance. What is the great nation of the US looking for in the past 24 hours? FIFA World Cup 2026 standings. Shocker, as I would like to be. Earthquake near me. That to me is a story. Has there been an earthquake somewhere? We need to kind of do a digger dive on that. Healthcare fraud. Earthquake again. There's something there. Supreme Court green card. Ada Marie. Apologies, I don't know who that is. Dairy Queen Blizzard. Love a Blizzard. Why is everybody looking for Blizzards now? Have they released a new one? Is that a thing? Is it a trend? Is it a TikTok trend? I don't know. That could be something you want to unpick. You want to unpack. Names, again, apologies. I don't know who these are. I'm not American. I don't know who these guys are. But Earthquake San Francisco. There we go. Lots and lots and lots and lots of different things you can look at. Some of these you may recognize. Some of these could be stories. Dig down in that. That's the trending now tab. That's your like what's happening in the world right now. Again, if you wanted to change countries, you can do so. You can drop them all down there. If you want to do with the US, the great thing about the US, because it's such a big country, you can go to sub-national levels. You can go to states. So let's flick it to Florida. I just was looking at Florida because for reasons. Is there any key differences there? So I see that in the last 24 hours, the World Cup is a big deal in Florida, again, as it should be. Healthcare fraud, is that a story? Supreme Court green card. Again, there's that Ada Marie. This is both nationally and on a Floridian level. Something to unpick there. Dairy Queen Blizzards again. You'll start to see differences, but you'll also start to see similarities, and you can do that dive. You can do that unpick. You can see search volume, you can see when trends started, etc. You can see trends breakdown. You've got a little graphical illustration there. The Explore tab is also fun. That kind of when you can do the driving, effectively. So if you want it, we might just take Florida off. No, we'll just stick to Florida. You can see what Florida is looking for in terms of queries, in terms of rising queries, what's bubbling up in the state of Florida, what people are really interested in, what people are really talking about. Sorry, it's taking a little while to load. It's because everybody's talking about the World Cup, probably. There's also this, I kind of mentioned it earlier on, but this kind of AI piece. So I'm just going to click this open. What's your area of interest? I'm going to keep it current. FIFA World Cup 2026. Find search terms. And it was moving. I was on trends this morning, folks, and it was moving faster than it's moving today. So apologies for that. Here we go. So search terms related to the FIFA World Cup 2026. Lots of different search terms here you can unpack. You can go kind of deeper on that. What it's also giving you, it's giving you related suggestions. So it's kind of pointing you in the way on the right-hand panel here. Compare interest in FIFA World Cup 2026 versus 2022. That could be a story. You may want to look at that. FIFA World Cup host cities, there could be a story there. It's kind of nudging you down story ideas by suggesting, well, why don't you look at this? Why don't you try that? It's acting as that like assistant piece to support you, to guide you, to give you options to kind of explore further. That's trends. Let's try it. Compare interest in FIFA World Cup 2026 versus 2022. Let's see what it says. Again, because we've just got this on the state of Florida. So you can see nobody was that interested, folks. 2022 is a red line. Nobody cares. Nobody cares in Florida about the 2022 World Cup. 2026 World Cup that Miami, one of the games Miami is hosting, went crazy there. People leaned in. So that's a data point, right? That's a story you could potentially, what caused that spike? That could be a story you want to unpick. That's trends. That's really fun. If anybody wants to be very overstimulated, I will take you to Trends TV. Trends TV is a lot, but it's fun. So let's talk to Trends TV. Trends TV is like an aspect, like a kind of separate product, if you like, within Trends. You can actually physically bring trends into your newsroom. So Trends TV displays like real-time search terms from your country. It can only go to country levels, folks. It can't go to state level yet. And this kind of colorful, like animated tile you see on the deck there. You can configure the deck to see how many or as few data points as you want. This is kind of configured to its max, so you can see what's going on. Set the country, choose the layout. It's kind of like a simple way, like to keep everyone aware of what audiences are searching for right now. So this is what Trends TV looks like. Now this is live. This is what everybody's looking for. Again, I've set this to the US. There's lots going on here. If any of you, why is Sharon Osbourne trending? There we go. Who is Jackie Henreich wedding? I don't know who that is. UFC Freedom 2050 post-fight interview. ISS deorbit environmental impact. This is what the US is looking for right now. The colors, as far as I'm aware, the colors don't mean anything. The colors are just designed to make an icon and make eye-catching. You could have this on a screen in your newsroom, wherever, so you can see it, so you can look at it, so you can see, okay, this is what is happening right now. So it could be like a thought partner, something to kind of spark inspiration. If you ever go into a Google office, and myself and Colleen in the chat have been in many Google offices, this is always on display in the Google canteen. Always, without fail. It doesn't matter what city, it doesn't matter what country. It's always on display in the Google canteen. It's up there, so you can see what's happening right now. It's a very great visual representation of interest. Helps you kind of unpack a story. Folks, that's trends. Let me just go back to the deck. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat before we go into deep research. Chat, right, let me try that. Don't see too many questions thus far. Okay, that's cool. Colleen, thank you for staffing the chat. I appreciate that. Let's kind of keep going. Let's talk to deep research. So I talked about it earlier on. Deep research sits within Gemini. It can save you hours of work when you're researching something. Again, this idea of a personal research assistant. What it does is you give it a task, you give it a prompt, it will automatically browse hundreds of websites on your behalf, think through its findings, and it will create an insightful multi-page report that you can then take away. You can put it into Google Docs. You can make it into a podcast and listen to it. You can do all sorts of fun stuff with it. Now, looking at the GIF that you see on the slide there, the person writes, I am a VC meeting a startup in the fintech sector. Help me catch up on the latest industry trends. So that is the prompt that we're giving it. Now, it's a really cool feature of deep research is it not only goes away, what it does is you give it a prompt, it goes away, and then it comes back and says, okay, this is how I'm going to approach this subject. I'm going to approach it with ABC, and I'm going to look at X, Y, and Z. Now, if you don't want to do it, don't want it to work like that, that's your chance to go, no, do this way, don't include this, reference that. It kind of gives you like a second chance, if you like, to perfect your thing, just to make sure it's on the right lines. I would argue with deep research, how long does it take to generate? Depends on your Wi-Fi, depends on how the servers are, how busy the servers are. I kind of touched to it earlier on in the session. You're not going to be using deep research 10 minutes before a deadline. You're going to be using it right up the top of the information gathering process for writing. But it's a very, very clever tool. And again, I will take you there and I will show you it. So we're back in Gemini. Sorry, we're back in Gems. We're back in Gemini. I have got some deep research examples I've used them before I use them for examples. This is a Canadian example, folks, because I am based in Canada, and I'll give you an idea of what it's like. This, by the way, is not the best of quotes. It's the best of prompts. I just kind of threw something at it. Act as an expert in Canadian politics. Give me a bio on Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre is the official leader of the opposition here in Canada. He was going to be Prime Minister in the election last year, but he didn't. Focus on his interpersonal relationships. Give detail on his ideology as a conservative. So, the prompt's okay. It could be better. Here's the plan. Response. Here's the plan I've put together. Let me know if you need any changes before I start research. I was like, knock yourself out, start research. Here it is. Here is the deep research report that's come back. It is well written. It is clearly structured. It has links there where you can click through to points of truth. Let's just look at kind of hopefully you can see the way it's structured it. Really well structured, right? It's like a professionally written report on that subject. So if you needed to write something on something, or anything on something, and you don't have anything, you don't know where to start, use deep research. It'll go out and it'll scan the open web, and it'll come back with these sources. You can pick and choose the sources. You have this amazing report that you can take away, export to Google Docs, send it to yourself in an email, make it into a podcast and listen to it. You can do all sorts of different things with it. I used this in my personal life for a really boring tax matter that I needed to figure out. And you know what I did? Because my accountant wasn't responding, this did it for me. This told me what I needed to do, sorted it in an hour. Brilliant. That's Google Deep Research. It's a really nice tool you can use. How specifically to use that in the newsroom? Probably touched on these, but some ideas, okay? Brands. You could ask Deep Research to provide a report on brands that are blowing up in your readers' timelines, that are sliding into their DMs, etc. Who's spending? What the comms like? What brands are hitting the target? For advertising purposes. If you need instant expertise on a topic, deep research is great for that very wide scope of understanding. And like before, you can turn it into different modalities, a podcast, Google Doc, whatever. You can use it to monitor your beat. You could get up to date on like emerging stories, key voices, key trends, etc. across that area of interest that you write about. One of the things we're asked quite often is, how do you compare deep research with Gemini? Deep research is broad and deep. Gemini is your guy that does that one thing really well. So you can kind of configure them like that. You can use the two together. The suggestion would always be use them both. Identify your own swim lanes, how you would identify these tools, because it'll be different from me to you to this guy to whatever. So, use the tools, familiarize yourself with the tools, have a gem for this, have a deep research report for that, and you can kind of figure it out and kind of see how to use it. Benefits of deep research. Saves you hours of work. It does all the Googling for you. It does all the research for you. That idea, again, this research assistant is going to do the heavy lifting so you can go and do other stuff. It pulls from hundreds of sources at once. It gives you that broad view that you would not really normally get if you're under a deadline pressure or having to pull all this together. The output is clear. It's that multi-page report. It's well written. It's well structured. It's easy to read, etc. Export it into different platforms. This idea also of being able to stay in control. So you can say, no, I want you to exclude A, B, and C source, but prioritize D, E, and F sources. I want you to just look at this, but not that. Because it'll come back and it'll kind of show you its workings before it starts. You've always got the ability to scope it, to shape it, to control it, to give it what you need. It's just a great way. It's smarter, it's faster. It's a great way to find depth. It's a great way to find content with that journalistic rigor, because it will have sources within it that you can click through to a point of truth. So you can always check that. So folks, that is deep research. I'll just very quickly check on questions. I think we're okay for them. Penda's saying, New Jersey Urban News, is there an API key you can install for the Google Trends podcast that connects directly with your CRM? Penda, I am not 100% sure on that, if I'm perfectly honest with you. That would probably be a great question to ask Gemini. If that's a specific ask that you need to know, you could set up a Google Trends Gemini gem, or a Gemini or a gem specifically about CRM and podcast integration, and fire questions at it to get the answer. But it's not, unfortunately, perhaps a too technical question for me to answer. Insight News uses Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude AI collaboratively. Folks, we get it. It's a crowded market. You always have a choice. We're obviously Google. We're confident in our products. We believe our products are the best. But try them out. It's great that you guys have that curiosity, that you're using the tools. You want to check out different AI tools. As long as it makes your life easier, as long as it enables you to tell these stories, that's the more important thing. What we'll do is, folks, if I may, I'll go back to the deck. We've got about 30 minutes left. So that's deep research. Pinpoint. We're going to talk to Pinpoint. If anybody's using Pinpoint, great, because you're ahead of the curve. Pinpoint is like a research tool that helps you sift through, analyze large volumes of documents across a very wide variety of file types. Pinpoint is really smart. It's built by journalists for journalists. It's sharp and it's precise. It's kind of built, again, if you've got a huge body of sources and lots of different formats and loads of them, and you just need to make sense of this to start with writing a story, to telling a story, etc. Pinpoint is really great for helping you do that. What's great about the tool is that it's not just used in North America and it's not just used in the English language. Pinpoint is used globally by so many different news outlets and so many different markets and so many different languages, and you have the opportunity to check that out on the tool, which is great. They're called collections. I'll take you there in a moment. We'll show you. Nice example from the US. The Boston Globe used Pinpoint to analyze thousands of crash data and driver records across the US. What they were trying to do is they were trying to find repeat offenders from the state of Massachusetts who moved from place to place through the US and were terrible drivers and just caused complete chaos. Multiple data sources, lots of stuff going on. They used Pinpoint to make sense of that chaos. Their investigation was called Blind Spot. Don't know if you're familiar with it. And they won a Pulitzer. It helped them build the story, that deep dive into investigative reporting, that AI-powered research assistant. Pinpoint, it kind of simplifies those complex research tasks associated with producing high quality news. So whether that's investigative reporting, fact checking, combing through archives, sifting through notes, taking notes from audio, etc., video interviews, etc. It's really good at that. What we find from the feedback we consistently get from journalists worldwide regarding Pinpoint is that the primary benefit we hear is that this tool, Pinpoint, significantly reduces the time it takes, the effort it takes to produce stories. So folks, if you are not using Pinpoint, get on board with Pinpoint because it's super smart. The great thing about Pinpoint is you can chuck just about anything at it. Documents, archives, emails, even images. Fling them into Pinpoint, see what you get. Pinpoint then organizes that. You organize it into a collection. You start a collection, you upload all your sources into a collection. And it helps you surface those data points, those pieces of the story, no matter how deeply they're buried. It will pull them out for you. It'll do it automatically, which is really, really smart. A single pinpoint collection can contain up to 200,000 documents. That's images, audio files, printed text. I would argue if you've got 200,000, you might want to do some filtering, organizing before you throw it into pinpoint, but it can handle it, 200,000. So for journalists, that means instead of like scanning thousands of pages one by one, you can zero in on the people, the organizations, the timelines, the themes that matter most to your story in just one click. Now, in terms of logistics for pinpoint, you need a Google account to get a pinpoint account. In terms of privacy, and I always like to address privacy up front, document collections that you create are created private by default. They are protected by Google's industry-leading privacy and security technologies. Data you upload to the app will not be used to train the AI models. The same privacy, the same security applies to it as your Google Drive or your Google Gmail. It's created private by default. Now, in terms of access to Pinpoint, Pinpoint is now available to anyone on the web. Users landing on Pinpoint can immediately start using it. So you can create collections, you can upload documents, you can apply Gemini, the AI feature that's in Pinpoint, you can use that. You don't need to do it, no sign-up forms, no jumping through hoops, no approval. You're all good, you're all set to go. What I would suggest is if you're a journalist, journalists can register for a pro tier of Pinpoint. That kind of gives you a more powerful, if you like, a more powerful Pinpoint. Not that the basic level of Pinpoint is not powerful, it is, but there's like a specific kind of journalist version for Pinpoint. There is a little link, again, I'll put in the chat, folks, that'll just give you more idea on Pinpoint for journalists. I'll take you through to the Pinpoint help page and you can do some reading on that at your leisure and examine that. So Pinpoint helps you with lots of different things. Very flexible. It can help you support you in like a wide range of newsroom scenarios. Great for investigative reporting, like the Boston Globe used it. You're dealing with large data sets, leaked documents, freedom of information requests, internal emails. Pinpoint can help you make sense of that chaos. It can help you with breaking news analysis. What if you need to like quickly surface relevant insights or past coverage to add depth to like a fast-moving story? Pinpoint can help you there. It can help you with audio transcription, video transcription. It can make interview transcription fully searchable. So it's a great place to like collect, organize your notes, zoom in on a specific quote. Great place just to organize yourself, collect notes, store notes, share notes. You can share a Pinpoint collection with other members of your team. So it becomes this kind of collaborative space where you can all jump in and use that Pinpoint collection to build the story. What it really does is it shines with archives. Pinpoint is great at archives. So that helps you search across like years of material to find the context or the history that shapes today's reporting. Other specifics, scan through thousands of documents at once, surface names, organizations, dates, times, keywords that matter to your story. Transcribes audio, video files, you can then search across the text. So if you're looking for that specific quote or moment in an interview, jump straight to it. There's actually two kind of data organization pieces, if you like, within Pinpoint. So if you have similarly structured documents, so for example, if you have financial reports, crime reports, police reports, government filings, where the structure is the same, but the data within it is different, you can organize, you can build your own data logic to just pull out the data that you need across the whole collection. Then you can export that to a CSV, you can pivot it, you can build charts from it, you can build graphs from it, or you could just apply Gemini to do all that stuff for you, because remember, Gemini will do that. So you can spot trends, spot outliers. That's really cool. And also it's got a generative AI functionality there in the tool, so you can ask direct questions of your collaboration or your collections. You can help uncover insights, you know, stuff that otherwise might stay hidden. You can apply that with AI. Transcriptions, note-taking, turn meetings, interview notes, meetings, etc. into searchable summaries. Pinpoint does this really, really well. Create editing or style guide bots, like review drafts, ensure consistency with your publication's tone. You can use content tagging to automatically categorize stories. You can make your archives easier to find, easier to search, apply logic to that in terms of color coding, in terms of naming conventions, all sorts of stuff. Also for personal productivity, it's pretty smart too. So it can kind of streamline those kind of everyday tasks, etc. Generating reports to drafting emails, that will free up your time for that deeper work. So I've talked to it, folks. I will give you a very, mindful of time, I'll give you a very top line. Normally when we present Pinpoint kind of in isolation, we need an hour. We don't have an hour because there's so many different pieces to the tool. This is Pinpoint. This is what it looks like. This is my workspace. These are just the ones I use for work, for exploration, for demonstration points. I'm in the My Workspace tab. If you get a moment, check out the Explore tab. That is where the collections of press sites who use this tool all over the world have made their collections available. Not just in North America, not just in English language, all over the world, all sorts of different language. You can jump in, you can interrogate them, you can ask questions of those collections. You can't do much with them because they're like read only. You can't apply AI, for example. It's just a good place to start. However, let's jump into one of my collections. Some context here of what you're seeing on the screen, folks. These are NASA transcripts. These were made, or these were transcribed rather, I think the early 70s. So they're like 50 years old, following like the conclusion of the kind of the US space race to put men on the moon. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 PDF sources of interviews from these men. You can see them on the screen there. That's just an example of one. What Pinpoint automatically does, as soon as you upload, remember you can have 200,000 of these. We have 8, which makes things slightly easier. Pinpoint automatically pulls out people. It automatically pulls out organizations. We call these entities. They're like specific data points. Locations, it pulls out on the right-hand side. So for example, if you wanted to see how many times John F. Kennedy was mentioned in these documents, he's mentioned in 6 of them. Hopefully you can see that up there. Just using this here. And in this particular document, he's mentioned twice. So you can see he's mentioned there and he was mentioned there. So very good at finding stuff. If you have specific dates you want to look at, that, you know, if you want to look at, I only want to look at what happened between 1st of January 1960 and 31st of December 1965. Assuming those dates are in those documents, it will find it. So that's a nice little feature as well. It's really good at finding a needle in a haystack. So for example, let's look for the word moon. Now, spoiler alert, folks, moon features a lot in these documents. What it also does, it can look at synonyms as well. So in this particular doc, hopefully you can see it. It's not just picked out moon, 19 of 90 mentions. There you go. It's also picked out the word lunar. It will look for synonyms too to kind of broaden that scope of reporting. If you just want to look for that word, use search determiners, you know, the little quotation marks around it, and it will just look at that. Go back to our decks here. We'll get rid of moon. I want to show you this idea of how it's really good at shines with archives. I'm going to look for the name Loomis. So Henry Loomis was in kind of NASA management during the space program. Here we found the name Loomis there. This, mindful of the source of truth here, this document was typewritten in a typewriter 50 years ago. The ink is red, the ink is bled, the ink is run. It's been photocopied a couple of hundred times, probably been scanned a couple of hundred times. This is pretty crappy to read. It can still find it. It can still find his name. So again, if you've got historical documents that have maybe been in your back pocket, documents that have been through a warehouse fire, whatever, chuck them into Pinpoint because you never know what it's going to be able to find. It's really good at finding a needle in a haystack. Can't stress that enough. Another example of its kind of search functionality, we'll get rid of Loomis. I am going to look for the word state. Sorry, I'm just going to go back into the collection here. We'll look for the word state. As you can imagine, state appears quite a lot. I want to show you this example. Here is the word state written, probably in pencil, in cursive, on an angle, at least 50 years ago, and it's found it. So it's really good at handwriting for archives. Wanted to show that to you there. You also have, that's kind of the standard, the entity extraction that does that for you. There's an AI piece. You can find answers, you can summarize, you can compare, you can extract data, you can label documents, create organized stuff from chaos, you can create a timeline. All of this AI-powered features. Don't have too long to talk to you through every single piece. What I want to show you is this. I'm going to ask this question. Where was Neil Armstrong born? You might not be able to see it. I will read it out. The provided text does not contain information about where Neil Armstrong was born. It mentions that he lived in several towns in Ohio, including Wapakoneta, sorry if I said that wrong, Warren, Jefferson, Milton, and St. Mary's. You have points of truth, you can click through and see to check. Now, folks, the reason it's not been able to answer this question, it's not because the AI is not functioning, it's because that information is not listed in the sources. So Pinpoint and NotebookLM are what we call source grounded. They will only source themselves in the sources that you give it. So if it doesn't know the answer, it's because it can't find the answer, because the answer does not exist in the sources. That basically means it won't spin off over here to see if it can find the answer. It will be honest and say, that's not there. So you can trust it in that respect. It's source grounded. You give it the content, you give it the sources, and it's only ever going to interrogate those sources as its point of truth. Lots of AI features, as I said. You can ask, summarize long, complicated comments. I want you to summarize. Let's see how this goes. Crew, mental health of crew. Let's try that. If you wanted to really deep dive on a story angle, it's scanning the documents. It's going to come back with like a top line précis. It's going to come back with those links within it to click through. So these documents provide a collection of NASA oral history transcripts featuring key figures from the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo programs. We know that. The following summary focuses on the mental health, psychological challenges, and physical well-being of the flight crews during these historic missions. It speaks to space motion sickness and physical fatigue, physical pressures and crew dynamics. And each of these has a point of truth you can click through to the docs. Really smart. Pinpoint is great. There is also a data piece, a data extraction piece, which unfortunately I don't have time to show you today. You can upload audio and video files. This is another collection. Here it is here. I won't play it. I'm not 100% sure it will play, folks, but to give you some context, this is a recording of a session I must have done like 2 years ago or something. And I uploaded the video, the audio file. No, it was a video file actually. It's about an hour, 30 minutes of me talking, horrendous. And it's time-stamped it. It's copied it out exactly. You can jump in. You can use Gemini to find particular pieces. You can add Gemini to ask questions of the content. I'm going to look at this. Tell me about Core Web Vitals. I'm asking Gemini to do that. Core Web Vitals are 3 kind of metrics of site usability. There's INP, there's CLS, there's FID. It's given me a deep dive on that. Yeah, what are Core Web Vitals? Core Web Vitals are 3 specific metrics that look at different aspects of a page's loading, performance, and user experience. Points of truth you can click through, you can see it. With LCP, INP, CLS. So again, if you have a transcript and you're like, well, what was he saying about the chief of police? Ask it, and it'll jump into the transcript. I'll pull all that data out. Folks, that is Pinpoint. I'm going to move on, if I may, mindful of time. I don't think we've got any questions, which is great. We've got 15 minutes left. Content creation, super top line. Let's look at how generative AI tools can help newsrooms with content creation. Like generative AI broadly, it's transforming the creative vision, the creative context, etc. It's not just for artists or technologists, it's for anyone who works with words, with images, with ideas. The important thing to mention about generative AI is that these tools amplify your editorial judgment. They give you creative range, but you remain in control of the accuracy and of the integrity and of the trust piece of them. So they can be really good for helping you to find stories, open up new possibilities and creativity. Taking it back to that start of the newsroom workflow, finding the story. If the start of the story is, the discovery piece, emerging trends, understanding what's moving and shaking, what audiences care about, generative AI can help you with this. So we're going to look at some kind of tools that you can use to help you. NotebookLM, again, we'll have a very, very brief overview of NotebookLM. Super, super smart. I've talked about it before. With NotebookLM, we need an hour to talk to it. We don't have an hour. Great place to store your notes, store your sources. Kind of helps you go further to actually reimagine that material in new ways. It creates lots of, you can create content from it. You can ask it questions. You can organize it. You can do all sorts of fun stuff with NotebookLM. This is what NotebookLM looks like here. Here is all my notebook LM is organized into notebooks. Here is my absolute fever dream of various different notebooks. That's an untitled notebook there. You can upload all your different sources into it. You can ask it questions. I won't do that now. What I will do is take you to a previous notebook I organized. I was doing work with in Charleston with the Morning Post down there. I used deep research to find data. The logic of the screen is here are all your sources. Up in the middle is kind of your chat functionality. It will automatically give you a top-line summary, a précis of all of this. You can ask questions, so suggest 5 story ideas for a journalist to write based on these stories, and it's come back with 1, 2, 3, 4. Preserving the viewshed, the cost of safety for the holy city. I wanted to look at Charleston's flood prevention scheme, which is a big deal in Charleston, if anybody's from Charleston. Points of truth you can click through. Ask a question. I am interested in the communities affected by the seawall plans. Give me a detailed overview of all the sections of these transcripts that might be useful for exploiting these themes. Include key quotes as well. It's done it for me. It's also the studio panel on the right-hand side. And I would love to be able to show you all of these because Notebook LM is really cool. You want a podcast, you've got a podcast. You want a slide deck, you've got a slide deck. You can do a video overview. You can do a mind map, reports. You can do whatever you want. Infographic, data table. So for example, here is a mind map. So it kind of helps you understand the different angles to organize all this in your head. Super smart. Notebook LM is super smart. I'd love to be able to talk to it more. Unfortunately, we don't have the time. Our example, we talked to notebook examples before. Basically, La Voz, which is a site in Argentina, they uploaded loads of their information into Notebook LM and generated podcasts from it. Super, super clever. What is the difference between Pinpoint and Notebook LM? Folks, if you want to get your cameras out and take a picture of that screen, use them. Pinpoint is more, it's your investigator, right? Notebook LM, on the other hand, is like more like a writing partner. You can use both of them together. They complement each other really well. But if you want to take a photo of that, please do. Again, these tools are free. These tools are browser-based. These tools can do lots of different things. They can help you organize. They can support you. They can kind of help you create your journalism. Gemini Canvas is fun. Gemini Canvas is, again, like deep research, like GEMS. It sits within the overall Gemini product. You can use it to draft. There's a kind of cool like drafting iteration piece within Canvas. You can also build it, you can also use it to create code, to create like microsites, etc. Very quickly, I'm going to go to this, back to Gemini. I've got it saved, so I've got it prepared here. What I would if it wasn't frozen. There we go. I've asked it to build a microsite for me for the Phoenix, Arizona suburbs. I asked it to do the same thing for Orlando. I asked it to do the same thing for Edmonton. And for Orlando, this is what it came up with. I basically asked it to build a site for me. You can look for it up the top there. That's what the preview of the site would look like in seconds. Looks great. For the code heads, that's what the code looks like. Again, takes seconds to organize this. That's Canvas. It sits within Gemini. It's really good fun. You can use it to draft and refine, as I spoke to. Again, when we talk to AI imagery, we ask, you be mindful. We need to make sure we're using it responsibly. It can help when images don't fit the story, right? If you want to brief a photographer with a clear visual reference to speak to something that's happened before in the past, the Battle of Gettysburg, you don't have any photos of that, you can use, but you need to be responsible for that. You can use it to complement your reporting. Nano Banana Pro, Nano Banana sits within Gemini. You can use it to create stories. Sorry, you can use it to create images. The example here with Nano Banana was I had a skeleton, the image of a skeleton of a dinosaur, not the dinosaur, the skeleton of the dinosaur. I asked it to literally put flesh in the bones of this image to see what the dinosaur would have looked like. Now, you could also say, I need a background of a primordial desert or a jungle. I need you to put a human being against it for scale, for context. You can do all of that. That's Nano Banana. It's really smart. VO or VO product, you can turn text into videos. Super smart. This unparalleled creative control, you can generate like high fidelity, realistic video that precisely adheres to your vision. It's got something called physics-based realism. So like water ripples correctly, leaves leave. You know, they ripple correctly, etc. Shadows fall right. It looks smart. It looks really advanced. That's one of our video products. You can use it for historical reenactments. You can use it for visual testimony. You could use it for technical animations. You could use it on your socials. You can build short videos using VO3. VO3 is available in just certain apps because it's a more expensive tool. It's available in different, Google's like AI1 Pro plan. There is a cost associated with that, but it's there and it's kind of coming at you. It's to be used. Now, verification and information integrity. We're going to rattle through these final slides, folks. You need to prove provenance, right? It's becoming increasingly difficult to analyze what is real and what is fake. So we have tools that can help you do that. Context manipulation. Let's look at context manipulation. So the image is unaltered, but it's paired with a false or misleading claim. So for example, here's some examples. Top right, this was of the ship coming under Tower Bridge in London. The image is real, the context is not. So that's context manipulation. But when we talk to content manipulation, it's the image itself that has been altered. Now, there are so many examples of this through history. Content manipulation, folks, is not new. There's some examples you might be familiar with. How do we counter that? What can we offer you in terms of tools? Well, we have 3 tools. We have SynthID, very specific. It has its own portal, super smart. Google search, you can look at fact checks on a topic, a claim, etc., or even an image. There's also a fact-checking capability in YouTube. We don't talk to YouTube too much here. Community notes, kind of like AI-generated labels, etc., will help you kind of check the context of sources. SynthID, I want to speak very, very briefly to. SynthID in itself sits within a portal. It helps users identify if a piece of content has been created with Google AI tools. I'm not going to show you the SynthID portal. That kind of lives on its own. SynthID, however, now does sit within Gemini. So I'm going to very quickly go back to Gemini. I'm going to go to a new chat. I don't know if you remember, I sent you to my photograph from earlier on. I am uploading that into Gemini now. That's it there. What I did with this photograph is my official Google photograph. I ran it through Nana Banana and I de-aged myself to 25, because why wouldn't you? That's what it looks like. Pretty accurate. Is this AI? Let's see what it says. Yes, this image was created by AI. It'll give you like a top line basis. So if you're ever in doubt, folks, you can just spark up Gemini, upload the content, and it will give you a very, very accurate description if it's AI or not. Right there in Gemini. That's really smart. Wanted to speak to that. Kind of rounding it off, folks, what we're now going to speak to is kind of the last section, just in our closing moments. Safe and resilient journalism, super important. You need to keep yourself safe, your contacts safe, your reputation safe, all of that. It's never been more important to do that with the craziness of the world that we're living in. It's super important that you create, you can prevent disruptions. So like an attack or a system failure brings everything to a halt. So we're talking about like DDoS attacks, etc. Prevention is key. We have a tool for that, and I'll speak to it in a moment. Super important for you guys to safeguard your journalistic integrity. Your credibility needs to be protected. If your data of your stories are tampered with even slightly, it can erode that trust that you have put so much hard work into your reputation that you've built over years. How do we help you keep the truth intact? How do we let your audiences know that they can rely on what you publish? How do you protect yourself, your sensitive data, your confidential sources, your information, whistleblowers, unpublished investigations, etc.? The goal with us and the tools that we offer is to make sure sensitive information stays exactly kind of where it belongs, safe, secure, and in your hands. And also cybersecurity, it's not just a technical issue, it's an ethical one, right? We all have responsibility. All of us journalists, tech folk have a responsibility to protect not only their data, but the people behind it, sources, colleagues, audiences. 3 tools that will help you do this. There is Google's Advanced Protection System. That's specifically for journalists. It's designed for anyone at higher risk of online attack, like reporters, editors, activists, etc. 100% free to use. There's a cost for the actual security keys. There is Project Shield in the middle. That's your tech team. your website owners, your administrators. You can that will help manage the setup and connection to ensure the site is protected from DDoS attacks. That's the technical one in the middle. And then lastly, the last product is Outline. That can be used by journalists themselves. You can create and manage your own secure VPN connection without needing IT support. Really easy and simple to set up. Again, folks, it's free to download and it's free to use. So those are 3 tools: Advanced Protection, Project Shield, Outline. Now, with 1 minute to go, folks, I'll just check. Colleen's been doing a grand job in the chat. Thank you, Colleen, again. If I ask you to do anything, mindful that we are coming to the end of our session, thank you again for the opportunity to virtually be in the room. Give us feedback. We love feedback. We need feedback. It makes us, we take all your feedback incredibly seriously. It helps us make sure we are giving you guys what you need. So there is a link. Well, I think I probably put it in the wrong area, and never mind. There is a link in the chat that you can look at. Please click through. Short survey, shouldn't take long to do. There is also a QR code that will, if you scan that, open up your phone, you can answer the survey. We really do appreciate that. And that, folks, is time. We are at 12:50. So I don't have any time to answer questions myself. Colleen's done the heavy lifting there. But thank you so much for your attention. I'm not quite sure the next step in the process, if I'm honest. I think Norman will tell me what to do.
Before you leave, leave, Leon, we want to appropriately thank you.
My pleasure, Dr. Travis.
This last almost 90 minutes has been very informative, very productive, and very relevant to where the Black press of America is today, the challenges that we face, the opportunities that we face. And as we consider at our convention innovation moving forward, your presentation has been invaluable.
Amazing,
So
thank you.
Please let our colleagues at Google and Google News Initiative know that on behalf of all of the member publishers of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, we deeply thank you, respect you, and we will use some of the, all of the information that you've given us. We've archived it, and we will make this broadcast repeatedly over the next several days. For those publishers who were not able to get on at this time, they will also be able to get the benefit of the content that you have presented. But for now, just know that we're very grateful and we're very thankful. And on behalf of the NNPA, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Travis, and thank you to everybody that attended today. Much appreciated. Take care.
Very good. So it's now 12:52. I've gotten a couple of texts. People want to take a 10-minute break. We will take a 10-minute break, and we will come back at, well, we're not going to go off the air. We're just going to start live at 1:05. At 1:05. It's 10:52 now. So we got, actually, you know what? 1:05. We're going to start back at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time. So we take a little break. Also, I want to thank Norman Rich, who's managed our virtual convention thus far. I want to thank the chairman, thank all of the board members, and most importantly, I would say, we thank all the member publishers. Over 100 publishers have registered. Many more will join to see the content that's being provided. We also have a great program after the break where we're going to talk about the NNPA Digital Network. We're going to talk about some opportunities for revenue generation. Plua Marshall, the chair of the Finance Committee of the NNPA, is going to introduce us to NextNet. And then we're going to hear from Congressman Jim Clyburn and Senator Angela Alsobrooks, all for the Black press on this day and time. Thank you. We'll be back at 1:05 p.m.
Okay, hello everyone. It's Norman Rich. It's good to see everybody here. We're going to be giving a brief presentation this afternoon about some opportunities that we have coming up from a digital perspective. You'll see both myself and then following me, we followed by a presentation from Pluriel Marshall. And one thing I just wanted to point out, if you were with us from the beginning, you heard our chairman talk about the fact that Justin Barton would be presenting with me, but Justin is in Cannes, France today. And so there was a little bit of a conflict. He wouldn't be able to make it. So we are going to be joined by Amber Nettles, who's the Chief Partnership Officer for Empower Local. And we're going to be talking about some opportunities we're looking to do together with the NNPA and Empower Local. That's going to enrich not only your ability to be able to reach new targets, new markets, etc., but also enhance your ability to brand and present yourself to those prospects. And we're probably going to be scheduling relatively soon a similar kind of session so that we can talk about all the things that we've been developing digitally across the network. We've got some exciting things to roll out just from a top line perspective. We've got stock photography solution that we built. We've revamped the Newswire. I'm very excited about that. We've got some tools that you can use to help you not only improve the quality of your site, but measure that quality against some of the other member publishers. So it's a lot of, there's a whole array of tools. But let me go ahead and get Amber in here. One sec. I'm multitasking here. Hello, Amber.
Hi, everybody. Very nice to meet you.
Okay.
Hi, Amber. It's good to meet you.
Thank you.
And as I said, Amber is going to be doing the lion's share of the presenting today. So we're going to let her tell you a little bit about herself and about Empower Local. And if you have any questions, as before, you can put them in the comments and we'll bring them up on the screen and she can respond as we go.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real privilege to be here. And I'm really, really excited to be able to talk to you a little bit about what Empower Local is doing and why I'm here and how we might be working with the NNPA moving forward. So I'm going to share my screen, I think. 1 second, just to get us started.
Yeah, you just unshared.
Yeah, I'm just making sure it's going to work.
Yeah, it is. It was up there.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. So there we go. I'll bring it back and I'll let you know.
Okay, great. So to get started,
if
it's okay.
Good to go. Yep.
I'd love to introduce myself a little bit. I'm the Chief Partnerships Officer at Empower Local. I've been with Empower Local since last November. Directly prior to that, I was the publisher at the Chicago Reader. I had been there for 5 years. I joined the Chicago Reader as sales director in July of 2020, which you can imagine was a very difficult time to join a print newspaper. We all went through the pandemic and know what that was like. I've been in media for about 20 years. I worked, my first job was a copy editor and page designer at the Daily Press in Newport News, Virginia. So I've been in media watching what's happening specifically to revenue for a really, really long time. And I joined Empower Local because after I met them in a project in Chicago, I realized that I had an opportunity to be part of a solution that I think is going to help many publishers across the country. So again, I'm Amber Nettles. That's not the best picture of me, but I'm really excited to be here. So today I wanted to talk just a little bit about the problem we're solving and who we are and what we've built for everyone across the country, and what it means for you and what you gain out of it. So first off, just because it's, I think, really helpful to set the stage, and I think we all know this, but the numbers are really, really important. There's $175 billion in local advertising spent in the US every year. And frankly, when I see that number, I say, where'd it go? Because it's not coming to the publishers. Since I joined the Daily Press in the mid-2000s, I watched Craigslist start chipping away at classifieds revenue. And then I watched all of us start jumping onto social media to build these pages to drive audiences to our websites. And I watched us then start optimizing for search and for social. And we just didn't realize, I think, what was going to start happening with these big platforms. More and more, those platforms and the middlemen have just been chipping away at the revenue that should be flowing to local publishers. And I think that if you've been in the industry a long time, which so many of you have, we've all experienced that. And it's been incredibly frustrating because it's been really hard to stop. I want to make sure that you guys can still hear me. So if you can send me a chat, I appreciate it. But so it's been incredibly difficult for us to watch this happen and try to combat it, because we know that we're making the content that attracts the audiences. We know that advertisers should be working with us, but we don't really make it easy for them. And I think we all sort of understand that. We have a lot of owned and operated inventory that's of different sizes. We have different spec sheets and different rates. And advertisers want to be able to push a button and make a campaign happen. But if they want to include 10 independent publishers and media operators in Austin or in Nashville, it's incredibly difficult to do so. They have to have 10 emails, 10 contacts, and they have to reach out to them, get a proposal. They have to understand how they want to allocate their budget. And then there's 10 contracts, 10 spec sheets, 10 creative folders to send over. There's 10 insertion orders to sign and 10 reports to compile. And then I have to figure out how to cut 10 checks for those independent publishers. It's just not efficient. And so we're often left out of the bigger campaigns that come into our markets or into our categories or verticals. And so we've been trying to solve that problem for a while at Empower Local. So we've built a platform that enables us to build campaigns with multiple publishers and multiple channels, whether it's print or digital or email or social or sponsored content or event sponsorships. What the ultimate goal is, we're not even trying to take all of the money back, but we want to be able to redirect at least $100 million of that $175 billion back to local publishers by 2030. We've already been working for a while on this, and some of you have worked with Empower Local in the past. We've built a private ad network that includes units that are on your websites. We have over 1,000 media publishers in that ad network across all 50 states, and it reaches 82% of households so far. Building the network was really important to us because we could create recurring revenue for our publishers while we started building a platform to actually activate their own inventory. So ultimately, this past year, what we've been working on is continuing to work on our ad network, as well as working with our demand side partners and increasing the amount of sales that we're doing. We just brought on a chief revenue officer who's starting to work on the demand side and talk to agencies and advertisers about working with us long term. And we've finally done our first successful campaign. In Chicago, we worked with 30 individual publishers across print, digital, email, website, et cetera, to do a campaign that everyone was able to manage and traffic on their own, that had one campaign, one spec sheet, one insertion order, and one report. So ultimately, we're really excited because we have tested the platform and we know that it works. And so now we're starting to talk to associations like yours. You're the first of 3 that is actually getting this full discussion and presentation about how we've built the ad network and how we've built the hub platform. The other thing that we've done while we've been building this platform is we tried to think about what we could provide to you at no cost that would help you with local sales. And one of the things that came up for me as a former publisher and sales director is I always had a hard time updating my media kit online and trying to figure out the best way to present how to work with my publication to local advertisers. And so we built what's called the storefronts. So I'm going to move on a little bit past that, which are a digital website that works with the media kits and rate cards that you upload and the inventory that you've added, that make it really easy for you to present what you have to offer to people who are trying to find out how to work with you. And it's really easy to edit. And so one of the things, again, that we've included for free at no cost is the ability for you to update what you would typically have as your advertising page on your website. So I'm going to flip here to, this is an actual screenshot of a campaign that we ran recently, because I think that it's valuable to actually see what the platform looks like, at least to this extent. So this is the insertion order view of a campaign for the Greater Chicago Food Depository. And this is a campaign that has already run. And so you can see just a little bit of how the platform is set up so you're able to manage a campaign effectively. Going back to this. So ultimately, I think I say ultimately a couple two times, sorry about that. We have built a national network of 1,000 publishers that we are now transferring over into our hub platform. We have our long-term contracts and we're building out our demand side, and we've done that campaign. So the next step for us is starting to work with associations like yours to bring everyone in so we can start selling in, as well as the association or even you as a publisher has the ability to sell into a much larger network and a much larger opportunity for revenue overall. And this is just a screenshot. I believe the slides will be available to you after this, but we have a team of people that has probably over 100 years of experience combined working in media and technology. A number of people on our leadership team are former publishers like myself, and our strategic advisors include a variety of people who have been working with advertisers and agencies long term. So that's actually the overview of everything that we've been doing. I wanted to be able to answer some questions, and Norman, if you or Pluria or Cheryl or anybody else wanted to jump in a little bit to talk about how we've been talking to the NPA about moving forward.
Okay. Well, I will just kind of briefly.
Sure.
I should also say, because this is very important, that print is a component of this. This isn't only just about digital, right? Yes. So a big part of what has got to happen is we've got to be in more places. We can't just rely on 1 or 2 people calling 5 or 6 people, because it's a big country. The opportunities are huge. We're also in the middle of an election year. Okay. And so relationships like this are vital because they not only give us the opportunity to be in more places simultaneously, but to be able to leverage relationships that we don't have. Okay. And realistically, that's the space we have to be in. The days when organizations were calling up publishers or even the NNPA because they're leveraging their minority dollars, and in this environment, those days are going away. Or if they haven't gone away completely, they're on the way out the door, right? So we have to get smart, and we have to be able to not only compete, but compete kind of in a 24/7 fashion, right? And I always tell people sometimes you have to create the possibility of opportunity. So that's a key part of this. And the other point I wanted to make quickly is that she showed the screen that kind of gave a preview of what a publisher's capabilities are. The reason that's critical is because advertisers, big advertisers, when they contact us, they want a list of all of our publishers. They go through that list. Whether it's for good or bad, not all of our publishers present themselves equally. Some do an amazing job, some do an amazingly poor job. By being able to create a unified kind of presentation, we're able to get our best qualities in front of the advertiser. We're able to say it creates a lowest common denominator that raises the quality of everyone in the eyes of the advertiser and helps us to go ahead and I don't want to look at it as just complete a sale, because we're not trying to just complete a sale. We're trying to develop a relationship. We're trying to develop a relationship that's going to lead to more opportunities and continual opportunities, and not just us always knocking on the door, but them knocking on our door, right? And looking to us to be able to solve some problems with them. And the other part of what she didn't get a chance to really present is that it's not just about digital and it's not just about print. There's an event related opportunity here. Okay, lots of our publishers are doing events. This is an opportunity to get those events in front of other people as well. And also one of the strategies we're going to be putting in play, especially over the coming months, is looking for ways to monetize their events, to nationalize those events. Lots of these events can be held in many markets, and we can put the teams together to help to support that. So I know that Gloria and Don Moore are going to be up next. We don't want to encroach upon their time. If you have any questions and you get them to me, I can certainly get them to Amber and her team and make sure that we get back to you. Did you want to say something, Amber?
Yeah, actually, I really appreciate you pointing out the different types of inventory that you can put into the hub infrastructure. We are really excited about being able to showcase events to advertisers that typically would not be aware of those opportunities in a market. And again, to reiterate, this is owned and operated inventory that by placing that inventory in the hub, making it available to build into a campaign, it's orders that you wouldn't typically be receiving that are being presented to people that you wouldn't typically be able to talk to in general. So, and making it easy again for the advertiser or agency to be able to include more publishers in a campaign is what our ultimate goal is.
So Amber, first of all, thank you for the presentation, and thank you, Norman. I remember Cheryl Maynard talking to me about Empower Local. The campaign that you say you did recently in Chicago, can you just share how successful was the campaign?
Anecdotally, the Greater Chicago Food Depository, which is a pretty prolific advertiser here in Chicago, they do actually make effort to work with a variety of publishers. They said that it was over their expectations in terms of what happened and how easy it was. So they wanted to do another campaign like it later down the line. It was interesting to me because, again, anecdotally, it's the campaign manager in Chicago who was telling me what Greater Chicago Food Depository said. But they said it was like twice as effective as they thought it was going to be, which I don't have straight numbers on that, but I think that that's a really good signal from a strong local advertiser who is interested. And again, instead of working with 5 individual publishers for a campaign, they're able to work with 30. So.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, Amber. And as I said, we're going to get some questions to you. If we get some questions from our publishers, and we may schedule some follow-ups as well, because I'm sure that they have some questions that they're just not asking right now. Okay. So we're going to schedule some follow-ups, and especially as we consolidate the relationship. But thanks again.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And next up will be Chloe Marshall, the publisher of the Wave newspaper group in Los Angeles. He's also the chair of the NNPA Finance Committee. And Chloe is going to introduce us to NextNet. Chloe Marshall, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Chavis. I appreciate it. Good morning, good afternoon, NNPA. We have an interesting opportunity with a company called NextNet. And for those of you who've been around for a long time, there was a gentleman that worked at Burrell Advertising named Don Moore. And for those of you who know Don or met Don over the years, he has always been a cutting edge brother, always ahead of things. And he reminded me recently of a conversation that happened about 20 years ago. And he came into NNPA to make a presentation. And he was talking about this thing called the internet and websites and things of that sort. Don has always been way ahead of the game with everything. And, we as publishers met him in a different way. And we were like, nope, we want print dollars. We don't want digital dollars. And that is it. That is what we're going to do. And that's how it's all going to happen. And some of the publishers over old school publishers were like, "Get out of here, young man." And Don said, "Thank you very much. I appreciate it." And we've been friends 20 plus years. Don was at Morehouse when I was at Clark, and he's always bringing money to NNPA. And this is one of those unique opportunities where it's what I would call mailbox money, where it's articles that will reside on your site and sit there. They pay you for it based on your domain rating. So with that, I believe, Norman, you can bring Don up now, and I will toss the ball to him and let him impart his knowledge as he always has to us. So Don, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Florio. Let's see if I can share this presentation with you. Great. Can everyone see that?
I can see it.
Okay, great. Again, thank you, Floria, Dr. Chavis, and the rest of Norman, rest of the NNPA. I really appreciate your time today. And as Floria indicated, I have been involved in media, marketing technology, ad technology for 20 plus years, and a lot of that spent in the multicultural marketing space. So, it's very near and dear to my heart. And what I want to show you in the next few minutes or so is an opportunity for new revenue, a revenue line that didn't exist for your properties yesterday, one that you control completely, and one that runs alongside everything you're doing. This is with I'm part of a large consultancy, and this is one of the companies that I consult with called NextNet. So first and foremost, who is NextNet? NextNet was or is an organization with a 20-year plus track record globally. And they're specialists in AEO, which is anywhere engine optimization, the AI term for SEO, and brand amplification. A very large company, but still small in size in who they work with, and specializing totally in publisher outputs. They work with 200,000, or have worked with over their history, 200,000 businesses, publishers, and agencies worldwide. They're content makers, and they make content for these publishers, and these publishers earn money from that article. Over 15,000 native articles published every single month, and 2 decades in AEO and brand amplification. What set them up for this particular venture that I've been part of is that publisher revenue has been changing, especially with the advent of AI. The economics have shifted. 3 forces really hitting simultaneously. 69% of searches now end with no click, and that's up from 56% a year ago. Organic traffic to U.S. publishers is down 25%. And some of the worst hit publishers are down almost 60% in category traffic. It doesn't matter the size, large or small. They're all falling at the same moment that page views are falling. And the double compression is that is the structural problem. Lower CPMs, fewer page views, and lower yield per page. I'm sure all of you are experiencing this. This is shared industry pain, not a knock on how anyone runs their organization. So the question is, what new revenue sources are out there, and how can we take advantage of them? So the partnership model is pretty direct. NextNet has a team of writers worldwide. They specialize in content from sports to healthcare to multicultural. They write topic relevant, human authored content, not AI, and they're written to your verticals, your voice, and submit it for your review before anything moves forward. No content, no AI generated draft, and no content that surprises you. You approve it on your site before it goes live. You have full editorial review. You can send it back for changes. You can reject it wholeheartedly. You have a final say on every piece. And by posting it, you realize incremental revenue paid bi-weekly on top of everything that you make. You earn this new revenue and you're paid for hosting the quality approved content. But here's the most important part. It's not a function of the number of clicks or the traffic that are brought to these articles. Once it's posted and approved by you, you get paid on a bi-weekly basis. And most importantly, for everyone in this room, that given so much of yourselves to the publishers or to the sites that you manage, own, operate, there are 3 commitments that every publisher on our network has, or every publisher involved in this network makes. There are no shortcuts. This is human-authored content, no black hat tactics. It's written to Google standards, which is known as EEAT. You have full approval. Nothing runs without explicit sign-off. Revision requests are honored every time. FTC, and it's FTC compliant. Proper disclosures are in place, meaning that it won't jeopardize your standing in Google search or in Google Gemini or in any AI or AI model. Attribution and sourcing are included. You get paid now, and this is really the 2 distinct value propositions, and both are real. Day 1, revenue begins the moment approved content runs. There are no traffic thresholds, as I mentioned, no performance requirement, and no delay. And over time, this is evergreen content. I want to make that clear, not topical content. So this evergreen content, which stays up on your site for a year, deepens the topical relevance, and most importantly, the AI discoverability long after publication. So again, this is this is evergreen content that stays up, so it won't have anything to do with the latest news or anything topical, but of interest and written to your editorial standards. We have a large multicultural media company that we work with, and a lot of it has to do with entertainment and music, and those kinds of articles are also evergreen and stay up there. So as AI answer engines like Google AI, or Google Gemini, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, they pull from these publisher sites and they get cited more, which means you get 2 distinct value propositions. You get paid now, and it enhances your site AEO, what is AI search measured by, as well as SEO over time. So there are 2 benefits. And we've tested this with a couple of publishers in your network already. 2 publishers, Black Press USA and San Diego Voice, are already on the platform, and they have collectively realized about $12,000 in revenue earned across 4 months. This is incremental on top of existing revenue. Now, how much this is usually a ramp-up process. It increases. Both of them had their best months last month after 4 months on the platform. But again, it's roughly $12,000, and as Pluria likes to say, mailbox money that comes in with very low effort, and it's good content. I can attest to that. So it's on what they're making, on what you're making already. So how does this work? Well, you can be live in 15 days. And this is cutting edge technology. And what I like to say is first, we meet with you. We align. 1 call to confirm your verticals, your voice, your editorial standards. And by the way, there is no content that is put on your site that outlies your editorial standards. There is an agreement. Everyone signs an agreement indicating the amount per article, as well as the length of the contract. Anyone can exit, either the NextNet or you can exit the contract in 90 days written notice. You're paid for everything that posted up until your last day. And the execution can happen in 2 or 3 business days. Articles arrive through a portal, so you can view the articles before they go up. You can make changes, send them back. You can do manual or, in some cases, auto approve. Most of our clients after 3 months, move to auto approval. Why? Well, because they have found the content to be to their liking, consistent with their standards. And honestly, auto approval allows more content to flow their way, which means more revenue. But again, it can remain manual on each particular article or auto approval. And it's biweekly automated payments through their payment system directly to you. There's no new apps, no new ad ops required. In other words, this is not any kind of expenditure on your part. No new ad ops. It depends on it integrates seamlessly in the CMS system that you have. So there's little or no downside. So next steps. A partner which has been around the publishing game for 20 plus years. It operates globally with clients across the globe. Real revenue starting now. Next steps are simple. You schedule a 30-minute session to review fit, verticals, and editorial guardrails. And at that conversation, we find that if there's a fit on both sides. Now, again, each article, or depending on your site, determines the payment method, and it's judged by two things. What's called a domain rating, which is an independent source by a company called Ahrefs, which here's what kind of quality your site is. That's an independent metric. It can range anywhere from 0 to 100. Like a New York Times is about an 80 or 85, for example. And the traffic, that sets the payment level. And then your editorial and verticals. If it's a very narrow editorial looking at, obviously there'll be less articles coming that way. If you want articles that are limited to a particular geographic region, then that can limit the amount of articles. If it's more wide open, more articles come, more revenue comes. And on that call, we can review and you can see editorial content placed with current partners. And a lot of them are in the multicultural space. And then we confirm a launch path. It's really that simple. And that's how it works. And again, these payouts can help, especially in the era of AI. So with that, that's the extent of our presentation.
Thank you, Don. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm all done.
Fantastic. So thank you very much, Don. Norman, I am sure that the information that Don put up as far as scheduling can happen. Dr. Chavis, I'll yield the floor to you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Don, on behalf of the NNPA, thank you so much. Employer, thank you for making this possible. I remember Don at Burrell's. Been a long time. Good to see you.
Well, thank you. I dyed my hair white since then, sir.
I see. So, at some point, Plural, you and the chair can give some testimony about how you think the program is working. Therefore, the publishers will get an insight that this is a real opportunity for revenue generation.
Dr. Chavis, as I said in the opening, it's mailbox money. And once you get in and get ramped up, I mean, it's like the gift that never stops giving. I mean, it really is. And it's a large company. Don is absolutely credible. And as I said, I mean, 20 years ago, he came in with a bucket of digital dollars and we told him to take it back with him. Now we need that bucket, which may be a small pail, but all those small pails begin to add up over time. So I want to give a big shout out to Cheryl Maynard Norman, because she, as you know, Dr. Chavis, with Empower Local, was saying, hey guys, here's a way to get some more money in. So as much as we can get in from a digital standpoint, fantastic. Yes, we still want to self-print. I still love my full page ads and all that, but the digital can supplement and can help. And we definitely do need that.
Very good. Again, Don, thank you. Thank you, Plural.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
So to round out today's virtual convention, we thought it would be very appropriate for our publishers and for all of our supporters around the country who are viewing this virtual convention to hear lastly from two of our elected leaders. But more than just being elected leaders, these two individuals have had a long-term commitment, first to the Black press and to freedom, justice, and equality, not only for African Americans, but for all people. Congressman Jim Clyburn and Senator Angela Alsobrooks. We're going to hear first from Congressman Clyburn. I was very fortunate to be able to interview him on behalf of the NNPA and DC events. And then we were fortunate to interview Senator Alsobrooks for the NNPA and DC events also. So each presentation, I think, is about 20 to 25 minutes. But we appreciate if you hang in and see these presentations that Jim Clyburn and Angela Alsobrooks have done for the NNPA. God bless you. It's been a great convention so far. Let's round it out with these two presentations. First, Jim Clyburn. The National Newspaper Publishers Association represents 253 African-American owned newspapers across the United States. We are the trusted voice of the community, reporting the news on freedom, justice, and equality. Benjamin F. Chavis Jr. I'm very honored and pleased to be able to spend some time with Congressman Jim Clyburn, the distinguished member of Congress from the 6th Congressional District of South Carolina. Jim, you've been in Congress 17 times?
Well, I don't know about the terms, but it's 32 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Thank you.
So much is going on in our society. I see the Congressional Caucus has named healthcare as one of the major issues facing the future of the nation. But I want to focus on one aspect, and that is Medicaid. Tell us what you see as the challenge and the future of Medicaid.
Well, I think in order to really understand the present, prepare for the future, you can look at the history. I used to teach the stuff when I was growing up. My dad made me read a lot. I didn't like it then. I'm loving it now. And so I learned that history is to be instructive. And we were taught by most writers, George Santayana most especially, wrote, if we fail to learn the lessons of history, we're bound to repeat them. Now, the fact of the matter is we know that healthcare historically has been a problem for everybody, especially those of lesser means. And so back in 1965, when people were focusing on things, the Voting Rights Act that came about as a result of Bloody Sunday, February 1965, in Selma, Alabama, we focused on a lot of things. But healthcare was not exactly the focus of the public, but it was of the Johnson administration. And when I hear people talk about the failures of the Great Society, I remind them that Medicare and Medicaid were both products of the Great Society. And I cannot think of anything that's been more impactful than those two things. And Medicaid, so much because it affects people of lesser income, but it also impacts people of significant income. And why do I say that? It's because today, one half of the children born into this the world in this country come through Medicaid.
One half of the children.
That's right.
That's a big number.
That's a big number. Now, on the other end of that spectrum is the fact that 40 to 50% I'm told, or the people who are in need and get nursing home care, they come through Medicaid. And that affects everybody, no matter what your income is. Right. If you got a mother or parent, should I say, or grandparent in need of nursing home care, chances are you are going to be in dire straits if you have to take care of that all those bills from your middle or even upper income salary. So Medicaid is one of the most impactful things going. I mentioned my dad earlier, but one of the things he used to say to me all the time, son, if you got good health, all other things fall into place. And so what we have to do, if you're going to have a good, healthy populace, if you're going to have a productive workforce, healthcare must be priority for everybody. And so that's why Medicaid is so important. And that's why we Democrats have decided to throw down the gauntlet when it comes to health care. I can go across the spectrum in so many other things affecting health care, but Medicaid, I think, touches more people than anybody. And the mistake a lot of people make is the fact, well, health, Medicaid, that's for poor people. Yeah, it is. But it affects everybody, and it's a benefit to middle-income Americans as well.
Well, Congressman Kleiman, you've stated well the impact of Medicaid. Given the truth of what you just said, why do you think the government is backing off of funding for Medicaid?
Well, nobody likes to say this, but you know, when you get to be my age, you don't worry about whether or not people like what you say.
Yes.
I'm going to just tell the truth about it. And the fact of the matter is that it's a significant effort being undertaken in this country today to create two societies in this country: lower income and upper income, and eliminate the entire middle class. What's made this country what it is today is the fact we've had a strong middle class in this country. You eliminate health care. You get rid of all the programs designed to keep those, what I call, bad faith people from making decisions about housing. And we just heard that this administration decided it's not going to enforce fair housing laws. Well, we created the middle income in this country basically through housing programs. When those soldiers came back from World War II, the suburbs basically were built by the GI Bill. And we got this big gap between black and white was the fact that the white soldiers that came back from World War II got the benefit of the GI Bill for education and housing. And the black soldiers that came back did not get the benefit to the same level. In fact, you go back and check this, because I've done it. For the first 3,600 grants, GI Bill grants in Mississippi, of the first 3,600, only 2 went to people of color, to black people. Not 2%, 1, 2. And that was the case all over the country. And I often marvel at the fact that the Tuskegee Airmen, now we're having people saying, as one gentleman, part of his legacy, the fact he says, if you ever got on an airplane and saw a black pilot, you would question whether or not he was qualified. Nobody questioned whether or not the Tuskegee Airmen were qualified to help win World War II. There were fighter pilots who did not want to go up unless they had those red tails accompanying them, riding what we like to call shotgun for them. Why? Because they were highly qualified, and they made movies about them, but wouldn't give them the GI Bill.
You know, as I listen to you speak from not only a historical perspective, but very contemporary, it seems to me, Congressman Clyburn, that in terms of the public policies of current administration, you say they're eliminating the middle class.
Yeah.
If a democracy erodes from the middle, what is your perspective about the future of that democracy?
Well, I've said to a lot of people, and it took me some time to get to this point, but I actually believe that the next 18 months will determine whether or not this country continues as a democracy. I think you'll have activities, political activities taking place this year, most especially in Virginia and New Jersey. There are a lot of local things taking place as well for those two statewide contests. And then you're going to have what we call the off-year election next year.
Right.
And if there's not a reversal of what has taken place over the last 2 years, there will not be a democracy in this country in the next 5 years. There will just absolutely not be. Now, Jim Clyburn has been saying this since 2018. A lot of people told me that I was being hyperbolic, but I'm convinced that I'm right about that, so much so that Rachel Maddow several weeks ago made some comment to the effect that she thought we may have crossed that threshold. I'm reading and hearing from people now, articles being written, whether or not we have, in fact, taken a giant step toward autocracy. And if that is the case, and it's not reversed over the next 18 months, there will not be a democracy in this country. We'll never have another election, what I would call fair and balanced election.
The intersection between Medicaid and voting rights and voting.
Sure.
It seems to me that millions of people who are going to be impacted by the reduction in Medicaid, they should be the first going to the polls to vote.
Absolutely. You know, and what I think that people have to understand is Medicaid, by another name, is still Medicaid.
Yes.
So if you're living in Arkansas, it's called something else because the people in Arkansas decided the Affordable Care Act now,
right.
Which is a part of that. The Affordable Care Act is what brought, I think, we went from 25 million people without health insurance down around 10.
Yes.
And that's creeping back up again. And so everybody says, well, we want to provide health care for people, but we don't want them getting that Obamacare. So in Kentucky, they call it Connect. In Arkansas, they call it something else. A lot of other states is given it another name. In South Carolina, there is another cute name for Medicaid. And so
they just don't want to give Obamacare credit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I tell people all the time, when you say, well, I don't want no Obamacare, but I want my Connect in Kentucky. Enjoy your Connect, but thank Barack Obama for it, irrespective of what you call it.
I know your time is very limited. What is the prospect, from your informed perspective, of getting a bipartisan support of reemphasizing the importance of Medicaid, and Medicare?
Right.
I know during this open enrollment period, they have pulled back even the advertisement to even let people know about open enrollment.
That's right.
So you say 18 months. I think that you're right. But it seems to me that And the question is, between now and November 2026, what should be the clarion call to get the people on Medicaid to the polls? And if the Republicans don't work with the Democrats, which it appears like they're not, what is the Democratic Party going to do to fill that gap?
Well, the Democratic Party can't do a whole lot without the vote in public. You know, I hear people talk all the time, Democrats, y'all just don't have a message. No, you aren't listening.
Right.
You aren't listening. And then you aren't paying close attention. The fact of the matter is, if you have a media conglomerate like you've got in this country, when the Washington Post, one of the most respected newspapers of all time, decided that they are going to no longer fact check this president, let him say anything he wants to say, when the owner of the newspaper refuses to let his editorial staff, who learned people who are there every day, who observe everything and decide that we are going to write an endorsement of Kamala Harris. And the guy who owns the newspaper comes in and says,
no,
take down that endorsement.
Yeah.
And then you says, Democrats, what you going to say? We are at the mercy of that. And then it means to the voting public, some people say, oh, you got to learn to vote with your feet. Yeah, that's true. But you might need to vote with your hands as well, because it's your hands that reaches into your pocket to buy those newspapers that's now the guy who is spent $50 million for a wedding decides that he is not going to let that Democrat be endorsed by his newspaper. And then when you look and you see comedians who are progressive being taken off the air because this administration decided that person should not be allowed to speak. That's taking away your First Amendment rights. So the First Amendment right should not be guaranteed. But the Second Amendment,
oh yeah,
the right to bear arms, always guaranteed. And so I say to people all the time, we Democrats are doing everything we possibly can. We are giving out the messages. But if the newspapers refuse to print it, the television refuse to let it be heard, is that the Democrats' fault? That might be something that's falling on the public to do something about.
Well, that's why we have the black press.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're interviewing you.
Yeah.
Because we know you're going to tell us the truth.
That's right. And you know, I've been writing stuff for you for a long time.
Exactly.
And I still want to do that. And I still want us to enhance your ability to get the word out. Because I think that we have gotten where we are today because of two mediums. Of course, you always pluralize the media.
Yes.
I notice that you all don't do that much anymore. But the media are very important to me. And those two mediums that I have reference to, the black press and the black church, have been the salvation of the black community. And I do everything I possibly can to help put both before the American public.
Congressman Jim Clyburn, on behalf of Events DC and the National Newspaper Publishers Association, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and I would say your prophetic vision of the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
We are the official host for the nation's capital. We are all things sports. From captivating culinary to celebrating legends and so much more. We are Events DC.
Let's go bigger, I'm that killer. Coming in hot, make you jump like a thriller.
World-class people delivering world-class events. Events DC.
National Newspaper Publishers Association represents 253 African-American-owned newspapers across the United States. We are the trusted voice of the community, reporting the news on freedom, justice, and equality. I'm Benjamin F. Chavis Jr. On behalf of Events DC and the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Look, we're very honored to have in our presence the Honorable Angela Alsobrooks, Senator Alsobrooks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chavis. I'm excited to be here and really appreciate the chance to speak with you.
Well, look, we are equally excited because your election was not only a milestone for Maryland and a milestone for Black America, but for all Americans. And we appreciate your leadership in terms of job opportunities, employment, future work.
Yes.
You know, technology is changing the landscape.
Yep.
As a United States Senator, how do you see, from a public policy point of view, the importance of innovation and technology to increase workplace opportunities?
Well, you know what, if I can just step back even a bit, prior to my election to the Senate, I served as county executive in Prince George's County, Maryland, very close to here. Major county, one of the largest African-American and wealthiest counties in the country. And I centered economic opportunity. So you mentioned jobs, but what I have really centered, most of what I've done is on growing opportunity, which I think is so very important. And that opportunity, and I've worked on it in the Senate, includes things like access to capital for small businesses, innovation and technology is at the center also of what we've done. And you know why I think that? So I have a 20-year-old daughter who is a junior in college, and I learned from her friends how interested oh my God. Well, thank you for that. Thank you so much. But what I learned from her friends is they are very interested in cryptocurrency. They're talking about artificial intelligence. They're talking about quantum computing. And this gave me the idea that I should lean into these areas. And in the Senate on the Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee, I worked to co-sponsor and to co-lead a piece of legislation called the Genius Act, which set up the first framework for digital assets in our country. And this was really important legislation, and it's led by the young people who are innovative and who are really entrepreneurial. And they are the reason that I'm leaning into much of this, because I want our young people to be wealthy. I want us to use that word more often. We want to build wealth. We want to pass on generational wealth. And that is what I'm interested in.
The Genius Act.
The Genius Act. Yes.
That's great. And where is this legislation now in the Senate?
Well, you know what? It passed and was signed into law. And again, the first time we now have a regulatory framework to regulate this whole industry that is growing around the blockchain. I'm also on a group called the Market Structure Group that is now going to consider legislation for the rest of cryptocurrency. It's something that I think is new for a lot of people, but it's so important to our communities to be able to really embrace innovation, to be able to power our businesses, to be able to help us to do work not only here, but globally. But it's really just a way for us to develop more and more markets for us to be able to compete, to grow business, and to grow wealth.
Very good. You know, in some of our communities, they fear innovation. And I think of your leadership in the Senate now, you can help all Americans, particularly people in our communities, not to fear innovation, but to embrace it. And as you say, create economic opportunity. From your perspective, do you see the opportunities widening? You know, in some places, people are pulling back from diversity, pulling back from inclusiveness. But we think that, at least I think that, a democracy is strongest when it's participatory, economically as well as political. So share your view about the future. How do you feel that these innovations, crypto and others, AI, can help people get on that pathway to wealth building?
Well, first of all, I want to address what you said. You're so correct in that people are, many of them are afraid of innovation, but we don't have to be. We're some of the most innovative people anywhere. We can look back at people. I was thinking when you were talking about Madam C.J. Walker. Yes. Innovation is in our DNA. We have created. Oh yes, we have created over the years. We think about Benjamin Banneker. You know, we don't have to fear innovation because we have been innovative. And you ask, what does it look like for us? Cryptocurrency, the blockchain, some of the ways that we can use it to really help launch business and to help us develop wealth. I think about the city of Baltimore that has used this innovation called the blockchain already. And guess what they've done with it? They are tracking vacant housing. They are working on this whole issue around closing the gap. There are a number of vacant homes in Baltimore City, and they have used the blockchain to help them track the number of vacant homes and to really eliminate blight in these neighborhoods, which we know by extension, if you eliminate vacant housing, you are able to then thereby increase the supply of housing. You not only attack the issue around affordable housing, but we know that home ownership is the way to create generational wealth. So these are just some of the ways that we can use innovation to help us to become more entrepreneurial and to also to get into areas like housing that will help us to develop well.
It seems to me to be a good entrepreneur today, you have to have multiple skills, not just one skill. And from your work, even when you were at Prince George County, leading that county, which was a very significant county in the state of Maryland, what has been the response to this? Do you think people are eager to broaden their perspective on how to be a successful entrepreneur? I know I'm just going to use a hip hop term. A lot of young people think they don't need to go to school, just come stack their paper and invest, and will change how they're going to act later in life. But I think education is very important.
Oh, it is. And our kids are ready. And anyone who says they are not hasn't been listening to them. Again, the whole reason that I had never heard of a Bitcoin, I didn't know what any of this was until I started hearing my daughter's friends talk about their interest in it. They're reading all about it. When I think about artificial intelligence, quantum computing, I have to tell you, our kids are ready. And today, for example, I hosted a whole session around the ways that we can use technology and innovation to create entrepreneurship and to create more Black businesses. We had standing room only. We had to open an overflow room. And there were so many young people who packed the room. So, and my advice to them is what I tell everybody in this challenging moment in our country is to get ready. These times won't last forever. My father reminded me that some of what we are seeing is really the vestiges of a dinosaur. We understand that some of this, the challenges that we're seeing will have to die. And when it does, because it will, because we're in a season, we have to be ready. And I want our young people to lean into their studies, to read and to become knowledgeable, to also be courageous, recognize that they're going to be called upon to grow businesses and to add to our communities. And I want them to be ready when that moment is here.
From a digital perspective, is there a particular website or websites that you would recommend young people to go to get some of this information that we've talked about?
Well, one of the things I heard today in our session that was so interesting to me is the best way to learn about artificial intelligence is to use it. You can actually go on ChatGPT and put in a search that says, talk to me more about artificial intelligence, or tell me the ways that I can use artificial intelligence to aid a business that I'm growing, or to help me with a business plan. So AI, believe it or not, is actually the way to learn and to become more knowledgeable about the best ways to use innovation and technology to grow business and to grow well.
I'm smiling because I used AI knowing that I was going to interview you. And it said, be ready for a breathing sister.
Oh my goodness. Did it say that?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. This is amazing. Well, thank you for the AI is here, and it is going to change the way that we do business. And it's going to also just grow opportunity for more and more people. So embracing it is important. And you know what? And not, as you've mentioned, why should we fear it? When we know and have come from the most brilliant people on the planet Earth, we already know this. And so, this is exciting. And I want people to, again, be ready.
Since your election as United States Senator, what's been the response of the people of Maryland?
Well, you know what? The people of Maryland, I give great credit for electing me at a time where we saw in this last election, we now elected 2 African-American women for the first time in history. This is the first time we've ever had 2 Black women serving in the Senate at the same time.
Delaware and Maryland.
Delaware and Maryland. So Marylanders gave me so many opportunities. We have an amazing electorate there. They were able to look at my qualifications. I was a former prosecutor, started as a domestic violence lawyer, served there as county executive, where I created more jobs than any jurisdiction in the state of Maryland. But they looked at that kind of record and listened to me say that I am there interested in creating opportunity for every family, including ones like mine. You know, I grew up in a working class family. My father was the most brilliant and is the most brilliant person I've ever met. He retired as a car salesman. My mother was a receptionist. But I want for every family what my family wanted from me: to be educated, to have the chance to grow and to own a home. That's what I'm working for every family. Marylanders saw it, and I'm really proud of Maryland. I can also tell you that I've been surprised also that I've been able to develop relationships inside the Senate with people who don't necessarily see the world the way I do. You know, my father reminded me that how you see something depends on where you sit. So I've been able to work with people like Tim Scott on legislation to give tax breaks to hairstylists and barbers. Been able to work with Senator McCormick to try to gain access to capital for small and mid-sized businesses. So you have to be able to work with people. And I'm doing that, but it all started because Marylanders gave me a chance.
Well, it seems to me that Maryland is one of the states that represents the future of America, not just demographically, but the diversity, the sort of coming together. Because at the end of the day, it's not your party label. At the end of the day, it's what you do and what you accomplish, and to what benefit it serves all of the people of your state and then of your jurisdiction. So one of the things I wanted to ask you before I let you go is, based on everything that you've accomplished in life, which is a lot, historic, what gives you your greatest hope today?
What my hope is, I have to tell you, it is planted in my faith. And I am a person of deep faith, you know, and I have all the evidence to support my belief that God has not left us. You know, and I believe it with everything I have. You know, I have watched tough times before. As you mentioned, I was in a race where I had an opponent who spent $70 million of his own money. I am not a wealthy person, and I was able to compete and to win in elections where nobody thought it was possible. All these things I believe happen because the universe has a way of surrounding you and to making sure that things happen the way that they should if you have worked hard and done the right things. I believe still as well in our country. I believe that there are still good people in this country who believe in our country as it was intended, that we should all have equal opportunity under the law, that our children and grandchildren should be able to expect that the country will be as good as its promise. And, you know, and I know that in spite of what we see, I just refuse to be constrained by what I see today. That's why I keep saying, just get ready. We're going to be able to make it into the next season. And, you know, I'm just still excited about what I think is possible. Again, I'm not delusional. These are some really challenging, horrible, ugly times. But we have seen tough times before. And, you know, and I know that better days are coming.
Because of your faith, you remain optimistic.
I have. I have been so optimistic about it. And, you know, I'm because of my faith.
Senator Angela Alsobrooks, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chavis, for having me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We want to thank all of our sponsors and partners once again for making today's broadcast the NNPA Virtual 2026 Annual National Convention possible. We thank ASFME, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. We thank Alternative News Weekly. We thank Comcast. We thank the Google and Google News Initiative. We thank Reynolds. We thank Target. And last but not least, we thank the AARP. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, member publishers of the NNPA, thank you for listening. God bless. Let's work now and prepare for the 200th anniversary of the Black Press. Thank you. Good evening.